Larry was going, he's like, get over that. Let's go.
Well, maybe things will,
It's my fault because Tuesday,
you say so.
I literally looked at Jimmy and said, how many members we gonna have this summer? Well, it was the heat, we were rolling. It was one ag salt, one staff, and right after another. It was like, go into a shot fire, holding the guns in my head, the master call, while we were going back up. So we were going back up that on our way. And I said, they were the call.
Okay.
And he said, well, we got the first one out of the way.
There's the genius.
What did you find?
The one that, hello.
How are you? How you doing? Good to see you. Y'all good?
As far as I know.
There's a GP and there's a GP.
Hello.
Maybe that's.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it was. I don't know.
I guess that's a good thing.
That's not bad.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's exactly
Y'all guys doing okay?
We make it. Far enough. Maybe sometime go away. Yeah.
Already.
At least at the beach it was hot, but there was a breeze blowing. I wasn't doing much.
Yeah.
I ain't able to do much no more.
It must take so long.
It's there for me.
Where you at?
My son moved from stuff yesterday. When I looked at about the time we got later on in the day, I was there for more. Yeah.
Kevin,
Good question, Pete. Sure.
There's nothing to do.
No, he didn't even know. What's that?
What?
Good, how are you?
Did she call?
I do it.
I'm hanging in there, right?
I'm doing good.
Well, then, I thought Cody sitting here.
Hey, over here.
You still be on vacation?
We got back to
Okay.
Sir,
For sure, good. I'll let her know. Okay.
it was good. Vacation was good.
You just stay here and there.
Come back and get Brad Moose and stuff. I never liked it. I never used to go back
I
there.
went down there, met the man, and
I told him before we go, I done got shut that me so bad. I was only there for more.
Came back on. Look, Lamar wasn't in the truck, he just walking around, smoking a cigar and look, I said, damn, I'm glad I didn't need any help. Oh, you mad? You know?
It's to the tips.
At least you wasn't in this conversation, true.
Yeah, that's it.
Then you never.
That's what I'm saying, they're gonna have to get this. I keep trying. I'll keep telling them, I'm gonna resign, start somebody else. Anybody else? I have no, you know, I do somebody.
I came that day to sign papers and left. How are you?
How you doing, sir?
Better day than Friday.
Thank God.
Thank the Lord.
Thank God. How you doing? Good to see y'all.
I'm good, how are you? Yeah, I told Friday at lunch, I think everybody needs to go home.
Everybody.
We had messages today.
Started
Or y'all
Thursday.
did. When y'all in EMS.
Sir, what? Sir, good.
Where were they
Trying to
living?
do about
Probably
10
Terry.
things at one time, and
Are they
I'm
Terry?
check
No.
we're doing one thing at one time.
These were here. Might be condolences.
Must be condolences. There was about folks there.
Hey, if you get an email from Canolas asking you to buy $200 Amazon cards on the mail, or, and let him know
Is that
it's a scam.
Oh,
Think about that.
There's a lot of them coming through right now.
Yeah.
We've been getting for about 2 months, things that said we need to renew our Geek Squad contract and all these. Here's the amount Madison County's supposed to pay, I just had to call all of them.
I won a bunch at Harbor Freight too. Just all I had to do was send them a little money to cover it.
You didn't send it?
Yeah, I know I should have, Terry, but.
I think the target elderly.
The elderly. Maybe on a mental leave.
Oh, you got Carlton too?
That's the scam email.
I got
That's that
called.
one that-
What's going on, Carl?
The dog?
That Gmail account, that's a scam.
Yeah,
It got handled
Let you know.
yesterday.
did it?
Yes.
Was it because it got bad or?
No, it's because Christopher and them ran on it. Carlton Church, the dogs,
Yes.
it got handled yesterday.
Oh,
So, God, it was all day Friday. And then they had a pastor's layman meeting over Saturday, and called me on it. And then finally, Cynthia Hobbs went, and the lady agreed to give the dogs to her, so she took them all that. So there's no dogs on the premises.
Okay, so Carlton took care of it.
Yes.
Okay.
and that's what.
I told
me
them
and
that we
Cynthia
didn't have
talked about.
jurisdiction, that's what I said.
I tried to go and
I know.
just be personal with everybody, but they didn't care for it.
Uh-oh. All changes now.
She's smiling. Come on, smile,
Well, you
smile.
got grand jury, right? Not today?
Not today. But we do have a civil case in the courtroom.
Thank y'all for coming. Madison County Board of Commissioners Budget Work Session Agenda, July 17th, 2023, 4 p.m. Statements from marked from citizens. I only see one unofficial in the back. Do you have any comments, sir?
No, sir, I'm just here to meet with Terry.
Oh.
I say we need more money.
Public hearing for the 2024 proposed budget. Item number 4, discuss budget. Cody Cross,
So,
you're up first.
We actually have to open a public hearing, and go through that process and close the public hearing,
Okay,
even though there's nobody here.
all right. Well, welcome everybody to the public hearing for the budget work session agenda, July 17th, 4 p.m. It is now open. Cody Cross, buddy. Cody, I want to thank you for putting together those numbers, and they look really, really good. And I don't think there was very many changes at all from yours, but just so you know, you've been requested.
Yes, oh, glad to.
Only because these guys miss you and really haven't seen you in a while. We'll make sure you're doing well.
Well, I appreciate all y'all do, and especially I appreciate what Ms. Payne and also Christine, what they've done. You know, we submit these budgets and they fine tune them for us, so we appreciate it. Appreciate all that y'all do. In the probate budget, there's just very few changes that I would note on our courtroom interpreter. The reason we have been a little bit over on that is we sometimes have found ourselves more and more having to use the interpreter, not just for, we always have to use the interpreter for traffic court because we're always going to have some Spanish-speaking people and even other languages actually there. But with the estate hearings that we have in open court, we found that we've had to use the interpreter a couple times on estate hearings. So that's the reason for the slight increase in the budget for the interpreter. And also on our books and periodicals, we have a subscription to Radford's Will and Administration book, and what that book is for is $330. What that book is for is to keep us updated on the changes in the laws with the estate issues, and it also has new forms and other suggested forms that the probate judges use. So that's the purpose for giving that book to you. Also, I would, I guess I'd be remiss if I didn't ask for an increase in the cost of living increase for the ladies in our office. They've been very loyal, especially throughout that COVID process and all that. I won't be long-winded about it, but they have done an exemplary job throughout the last few years, and I would be remiss if I didn't ask if you would please consider approving that cost of living raise for the employees. And I'll be glad to answer any questions or anything at all.
Susan, do you have was there anything on Cody's budget that we corrected? I got the new updated version. I don't have all my yellow lines.
No. No, we didn't.
And it's pretty much the same as last year.
Pretty much the same as last year. Like you said, the increase in the interpreter and then the book, we raised that only because the subscription went up. But
I just wanted to make sure, because if some departments here had line item changes, and I did not know that, you know, whether you memorized the first one or the second amended version,
right.
If there was changes, I want to make sure you were aware of those.
Yes.
Well, they all received
The new one?
the one that we're looking at today, they had received last Friday.
Okay.
So they'd have time to kind of go through and know, which we had pretty much talked about.
We had, I will say, we had 8 budgets turned in that literally I read them and just put a check mark at the top, no line outs. I mean, they were really good, spot on. And the rest of them had good intentions, and there wasn't anything really off key. What myself and Susan done was we looked back at a lot of the actuals. Some departments carried over a number, but it wasn't running accurately, so we're trying to clean it up so you know that the next year, if you're good, then that number will stick. We was able to do that with Sheriff's Office right out of the gate, because that's probably the most complex budget of them all. When you get that one trimmed, then you know there's no need to trim it anymore because you've already done it. So, okay. Well, thank you, Cody. I appreciate it. Is there anything?
I just got one question, and it's just has nothing to do with all of it. Is this an online service, or do they send you?
No, they're actually in person. You talking about the interpreter?
No, the book.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, sir. It's the physical book.
Okay.
We have.
Like I say, I was just curious.
Right. Yes, sir. It is. Sure it is.
Now, the interpreter stuff, that's only going to grow. At the rate we're going and becoming South Madison County is becoming Clark County, and that area is growing so rapidly. Jeff Vaughn knows it probably best. We expect that number. Is it still hard to try to find an interpreter?
We're fortunate in that we have one that we work with, a Spanish-speaking interpreter, consistently. She's there in court every time we need her. She's there for every traffic court. But the other interpreters, for instance, we had one that spoke off-brand Korean, for what that's worth. It wasn't Korean, but it was some other dialect from Korea, I guess you could say. And that was pretty difficult, and that was an on-call interpreter, but they're very expensive. And that's part of the reasons too. We're getting more and more. But that line item didn't go up that much, actually. I think it's just a minor increase, a very subtle increase, if you will.
So, and this probably maybe a question for Katie. Have they decided not to do away with the new law where they were talking about doing away with that interpreter and using something different last year? I mean, the courts were against it, but the state was trying to mandate, saying, okay, you don't have to have a physical person anymore. You
Have it virtual.
Yeah.
But most of the courts are going back to in person, and they're not doing virtual.
Okay. So I knew that was a big talk, and it was going to have to be budgeted for last year, and we didn't because we thought it would stay. Okay. Anyone else?
On the sheet, just I guess, point of order, on the salaries, it says the increase per ACCG, but isn't that a statement?
Yes,
That's state mandated.
OCG, not ACCG.
That's right. It's a state law.
It is the state.
Any other questions or concerns? I'll be glad to address anything. Well, thank y'all for all you do, and especially thank you very much for all you do.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Shop liver.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank y'all.
See you, buddy.
Thanks, sir.
All right. You're next.
Just add his budget to ours, and we'll be good.
Who brought the denied stuff?
Not the guy holding the gun. Just throwing that out there.
I forgot to tell Cody, which I don't think he has anything on it anyway. What we haven't discussed, gentlemen, board members, is the capital outlays. Those we have not discussed. What you see is the daily operating budgets before you. Some of the capital projects is on the back, but we have not got into that. Some of your stuff is capital.
Only thing he has is IT. That he didn't have his capital.
Jeff, first off, I want to say thank you for everything you do. I know this past Friday, whether, I don't know if all the board is familiar with it, y'all had several very hairy situations going on at the exact same time, along with the it resolved itself in a way, I guess you could say.
It did. Yep.
And I'm glad that all our guys made it home safe.
It happened the best way that it could have. Everyone's safety.
All right, where you gonna start, Sheriff? We'll start with
Might as
Sheriff's
well start
office.
Department 50.
All right.
Just echo on the chairman. All throughout there, we just tried to clean it up. We tried to show some line items in the previous years past where we would kind of throw a dart at it and shoot at it in a $15,000 to $20,000 range, and they were really accurately running 28, 29, that type of line item. A lot of it, probably more so in the jail, when you're talking about medical things with inmates going on. But the actual sheriff's office, it's other than staffing issues, budgeting, let me say, I honestly think that the commissioners have done us well, really well, worked with us. Todd and Miss Susan has jumped on it and done a great job working with us, and we certainly appreciate it. We don't have to stand up here and beg and holler and scream. We just show the facts and tell you what it is and give back what we don't use. I mean, it's not ours. So.
Jeff, if I recall correctly, last year, in your budget, I wanna say you returned $287,000 of unused money.
Sounds right.
And that's something that's never done, and I hope young lady from the newspaper understands that, but most sheriffs and/or sheriff departments with this kind of budget could have very well said, okay, guys, it's October, November, we're running ahead of the game, what do we need to order? But you did, you turned it back over to general fund. And that's why I don't question most of those things, because I know it's been thought through, vetted by more than one before that's done. There is something that we needed to bring to the attention of the board, though, is in some of these amounts you see, Jeff can explain better, but the school board reimburses, like SRO, when you see those deputies, you'll see that line item, it's in their budget, but that money's also coming directly back to us. Now, in the SROs, do they, when they compensate, do they compensate their insurance, Medicare, and all that stuff too?
And unfortunately, finance has to break all of that down, all the way down to vehicle maintenance, to oil changes, to everything. So everything is separated in the past. And I've worked with finance in the past, Ms. Kathy, back in the day, and she would say, hey, this is what it is, this is the salaries, this is the expenditures I see, where do you want to go from there? And we just bounce it off back and forth and see exactly what it's costing the county, reimburse that, and then go from there.
How many SROs, just for information, are there now? I mean, where are they?
They're one in every school, so right now there's
one in
7.
every one.
Yeah,
Right.
they're actually requesting an additional 2.
That's what I thought.
That's not gonna happen anytime soon. I'm just being honest with you, manpower issues.
Yeah. Just
Yep.
can't do it.
Cannot.
We have currently 8, I think. 7, I thought y'all was building it to 8, but either way, you take that 8 and you times it by all the salaries in the vehicles. In his budget, it looks like about $500,000 that they're requesting from us, but know that that $500,000 is pretty much reimbursed by the school. I just wanted y'all to be aware of that. It's just really hard to show all the individual reimbursements.
Especially when you're just looking at an expenditure side, you're not looking at the receivable side, so it's.
Right.
Yeah.
So where do we stand, Jeff, as far as staff, and are we today, are we competitive with the departments that in the past have siphoned people off from us?
I just had the shock of my life, honestly. Let me say this, in comparison to another county that may be mirror Madison County, then I'd say we are competitive. In our surrounding counties that actually have a lot more revenue than we do, such as Banks County. We were sitting there with, Friday night with, Sheriff Speed. And ironically, they called me because they can't get staffing in their jail, and they need bed space. Well, we have bed space that we could actually provide for them. I don't have staffing to take care of their inmates. So it's kind of that kind of issue. And he told me, he said, man, I don't understand it. He said, we're paying more than about anyone. We're paying our jailers entry level $52,000 a year. I'm nowhere near that. I mean, I can't touch that. But comparing apples for apples, we're in the market. I mean, Franklin County, Hart County blows us out the door, but
They have the revenues to do it.
they do. I mean, honestly.
And this is something that I hope, and I've had this conversation with Sheriff Moore, I've had this conversation with Bobby Smith. The retention here is pretty good. The ones that we do leave or do lose from being an employee of Madison County, whether it be paramedic, EMTs, and/or sheriff, jailers, whatever, they're not leaving us to go to another county for higher salaries. They're leaving their profession altogether.
They are.
So where we've been lucky is Jackson County deputies will take a $5 pay cut because they would rather work in the Madison County atmosphere. Clark counties will take a pay cut because they want to work in the atmosphere of Madison County. Up until recently, we've only had 4 murders. And if you look at where they're from, they're at Clark County. They say that's Madison County territory, but it's there.
Yep.
And it's stemmed from that. So people's coming here because they know it's a safer place to work. the money's still pretty good, but it's the environment of the day-to-day, who they work with, makes it a better place to work. So that's actually made up for more of than the money has.
The camaraderie, everything's good. I mean, the work level, I mean, everything's good. You know, they're not to the point where they're drowning, but they, you know, they definitely are, they have to tighten up their belt and go to work, honestly. Right now, I am 4 patrol deputies down, 7 jailers down, and 3 dispatchers. That's where we are. So.
I don't look for that to change anytime soon.
I don't. I'll be honest with you.
I think it's the new norm.
Yep.
All right. Let's go over your sheriff's budget. Now, Jeff, we had talked about this morning with Thomas and Susan, the Verizon deal. We may be looking at changing to T-Mobile or something like that. We're getting better coverage for half the price. That may be coming. I don't want to rule out that Sharp too.
That's right. That's right.
I think that's going to be good for our office, or for the deputies, and or for 911 in general.
Yep.
That may lead to bigger things. So we went ahead and put the higher number of Verizon, even though before 24 takes place, it may go down.
Yep, I agree with
I
that.
look for the actuals in some of these line items to drop. I guess the main reason, you know, you're talking a $74,000 increase over last year, and only a $200,000. Well, actually, yeah, a little over $200,000 increase in 2 years, knowing where we're at in today's world. I don't know that you can get much better than that. I just don't. Me and Susan did go all the way back to 2020, looking at actuals to get to these numbers, and you've done a great job. Period, point blank. You've done a great job putting this together. Gentlemen, any of y'all have any questions regarding the sheriff budget itself? If there is none, we will move to the jail.
Do you want to talk about the capital outlay?
Yes.
For the sheriff department?
Yes. So, Jeff, let's just for a moment, the capital outlay for the sheriff's office is a request for more vehicles. I think currently you only have about $16,000 some dollars left in your splash.
I think that's right.
I think that's where we're at. But it's real close.
It's real close. There was around 80, and then I ordered 70 plus. I ordered a $3,000 truck that I had to have for transport. So, you know,
So what, and you'll notice a large increase in capital. We had been given, this started the administration prior to me, they'd give $99,000 a year, every year as a contingency to buy vehicles. With the cost of vehicles and the outfitting of cars went from $8,000 to almost $13,000 just in the past 2 years, with vehicles going from $39,000 to $55,000. We are looking at $67,000 vehicles. At the time when that 99 was said in the contingency, it was for the thought of getting 2 cars. Now it gets you 1.5.
Yep.
So the last round of cars was bought pretty much in 2018. There was a large amount of cars bought in 18, and all those 18 cars are dying at the same time. We're putting motors in faster than we can fix them.
Yep.
Personally. So Jeff has requested 6 new sheriff vehicles. I don't know the exact number that y'all purchased in 23 so far, but I just don't recall.
actual 23 vehicles, maybe 5 total.
For this year, yeah.
3 of them are still waiting on parts to be updated. They're sitting in the parking lot. Yep. No parts available. Yep.
So that number, gentlemen, that's the number for you guys to discuss. how y'all feel about that. I think we need to change the contingency from 99,000 probably to 200,000 per year base rate. Just so we can at least say we're gonna get 3 cars.
Yep.
Instead of 2. Instead of 1.5, actually. So.
Are the cars available? I mean,
You can buy the chassis.
who do you want?
You can find the chassis, you just can't get them updated. I've got, just like I said, I've got 3 that's been sitting there. I think they came in March or April. They delivered them and been sitting there. Brennan Motors typically supplies us turnkey product, and that's what we do because it's just get in and go. When they deliver, they're ready to go. Unfortunately, they told me that it's going to be October to November before we can do the installs. So I shopped locally and actually got a little bit cheaper price on the upfitting, but there again, he's got the same exact issue as he said September to mid-October before he can deliver the install. So they're just sitting there. Right now, if we wreck one, we bring one in for service. The guys who are in their car, they can't use them on patrol at all because it's just a vehicle that's marked. At least they can drive it home and then take a spare car off patrol. So it's kind of how we're using that new car.
And when did you buy them?
I think they were delivered in April. Yeah. Yes.
So, but we put them on order 3 or 4 months prior to that.
June.
Last year. June last year,
Yeah.
and they might be ready in October this year
Maybe.
to go out.
Yeah. The truck I just took delivery on for transport was one of the cheaper packages trucks that we could buy. It's a 2022.
So,
And it's July of 23.
so given that you got these that are, what would we need to order? Since we got 3 that are waiting on it.
So
what would we do if what would we be doing if we took the money? What would you want to do, I guess is the thing.
well, the police package is already built in. I mean, we're ready. As far as the funding is not an issue. It's actually getting the product.
Well, I know, but I said once you get those 3 cars, what's the next? What are you looking to replace once you get those 3 in?
I would actually have to look at our total fleet. Actual patrol division, that's going to help us out tremendously if we get those 3 built. Patrol division will be squared away. And honestly, I just have to look at it because not only do we have patrol division, which is #1 priority, we always, if we order, I'm going to order a brand new patrol vehicle, and I'm going to take the very worst thing that I've got and give it to the school resource officer, give it to CID, give it to, and the downfall is some of our CID stuff is starting to, like, it's time to roll it because it's
yeah, well, and that's what I'm just looking at as far as what do we need to anticipate that we're going to need a capital outlay out?
barring I don't care up anymore.
Well, I know, but I mean, we gotta,
Yeah.
we need to be
Yeah.
planning that, and I guess that's what you're telling me is you need to look at that before.
It really, honestly, the sheriff's office needs 6 vehicles a year. I'm just being honest. And
That's where you figured that's just about what you're gonna go through.
With our turnover, we've pretty much been averaging with taking SPOS into accountability, counting that, using SPOS funds, we've been buying 6 a year.
So with the 3 you got now, if we budgeted for 6, you would have 9 going into 2024 if you ordered them now.
That's the way it's looking, but I don't always immediately order 6. It would be,
The reason I was asking is because could we possibly narrow that down to 4 for 2024, and then you'll be rolling in these 3 come getting close to 2024.
I would say yes. We've got 4 deputies currently in 2017, 2018 Chargers, and they're dying.
No. Trust me, I know.
I mean, they're dying. Those three in my mind, that's what I'm trying to get those Chargers gone. So to me, they're already accounted for my guys. But yeah, as far as next year going, moving forward, we could definitely cut it back if we needed to.
Well, if we approved them all right now, Jeff, it'd still probably be 12 to 14 months.
That's my only issue. I can't order it today anyway, because with fleet purchasing, you have to wait till there's a timeline for fleet purchasing anyway. So, whenever they tell me if it's February, I can order, or if it's November of this year, typically is when I order, November, then I'm still looking typically June before receiving them.
And then another 5 to 6 months to have them out to you.
I'm hoping that backlog will be fixed by then. I'm hoping. I'm hoping. I mean, that's not typical. I'll be honest with you, that's not typical. This has been ever since COVID. I'll be honest with you, never had these issues before. So.
All right. Jail.
Yes. One of the key things you'll see is an increase on food expense. That's a new contract with a vendor that we've been using and have great success, and not really looking to shop that out, so I don't have any complaints. But they went up just only because of the cost of food, really. So you'll see an increase on food. And that number is based on population, and that's based on a population of a bed count of 96. And to be honest, we're holding about 75, and I hope that we can make it through the summer at about 75, 80 at the most. With our detention officer staff, that's about where I want to be. So. There was work the fool out of Katie and the DA, and
there was also a large increase, and it has nothing to do with you, but it was in your insurance premium, just so everybody knows. If you look at the bottom line from 21, 22 actual, 23 versus what we're asking for this year, between the food increase and the health care increase, that pretty much wipes out your complete increase. Just so make it in short terms.
Yep. What can we say? It's a jail. Gotta have it.
I just want to ask this question here. If we were at Headspace and you had the folks there to do it, and we'd like to take folks from Banks County.
You make money.
Do you make money?
You do make money, yeah.
Is it good money, or is it?
Pretty good money. We sent maybe $100,000 over a couple of years back. Out of that, probably cost the county 35%.
So all that's incremental. I mean, it's just, if we got it, if we had the folks.
Yep. I was told by a sheriff that he would pay us $60 a day per inmate, which is outstanding, because the rate back in my day in 2010 was 35, and now it's about 45 or 50 is the rate. So if we had the manpower to, the county can make money. Yep.
On housing out inmates.
Yeah. Housing. Yeah.
Or housing in.
Housing in.
Housing in.
Yeah.
We don't want to house out.
No, I don't want to house out.
Oklahoma just changed from Oconee County to Greene County.
Greene County. Yeah, I'm not sure what they're paying average day. I'm not sure. Yep.
I was just curious.
That's the only time you're going to make money in the jail.
You got it.
That's the only time. It is a losing proposition.
You got it. But if I'm a jail administrator and I've got somebody willing to take my inmate, I'm going to handpick the worst one and send to you.
Yeah.
That's what you get.
Yeah, that's what you're going to get.
They're going to tear you equipment up, let's say that. Nicely put.
We like some of them in the past where I come over there and they would mark where they knock the sprinkler heads off. And
Oh yeah, that was quite often.
Champs or 891? Which one do you have next?
52 is Champs. It's my next one.
All right.
Pretty cut and dry. anticipate a whole lot of change there, to be honest with you. There was some, numbers changed just with the salary of the person, and not anything drastic.
Before we get too far away, can you go back to the jail?
I will.
Get the maintenance software for your body cams.
That is I don't know if y'all seen it, but it's already in, basically on the federal level where they're basically shutting down the seizure movement. We're still actively, applying by Georgia law, and going after narcotic money, any type of seizure that we can. In the past, seizure paid for all of that, 100%. And the downfall is, for the past, I would say 15 months, we haven't received anything from seizure because the DA can't get it in court in time because of their backlog. So all of our counties around here right now are seizure accounts have bled dry. There's just no funding there. So talking to the sheriff, he said, well, I'm going to bring that before the, I'm glad you brought that up, bring it before the board and let them know what's going on. So
that's just about 18,694, like every 5 years? Is that what that is?
That's a yearly contract on the jail cameras that they wear on their person. The body cam is actually on their person. What we did was we upgraded the actual cameras, if y'all remember, for patrol guys, and we bought 30 new cameras. When we did, we took the existing cameras and moved them to detention staff. So during that, we were looking at over a $200,000 upgrade for cameras inside the jail because, I'll be honest with you, we were having major issues. So I had to fix an immediate problem. I fixed an immediate problem with the cameras on their person. Okay, so we done that, and that, like I said, that's about $18,000 a year. That was my cheapest fix. Since then, I have moved on and got with Thomas, and that vendor that was wanting to charge us $250,000 was absolutely lost her mind. We spent about $40,000 roughly, and I took that from Spot. We were somewhere in that ballpark, $38,000 I think is what it was to actually update the jail cameras. So
That was using the local guy, wasn't it?
that was using Thomas.
Yeah.
Very local. Yep. Yep.
But where you say you got a 5-year maintenance plan, so it's due again in 2028, I think that's kind of.
That's a yearly contract. What that is storage.
So
That's
it's
your
through,
cloud storage.
through 2028?
That's probably right. It's
I mean, the way it's written is it says it's due again, so I'm trying to figure out, is this,
no, that's a yearly balance.
Is it a yearly?
Mhm.
God, so we need to change this.
But you're saying they usually pay that out of money from seizures?
I was paying that before. We've already paid it for 2 years, so I think there's 3 years left. And I paid it out of seizure before, and now that the seizure funds are depleted, we don't have the funding anymore. So that's kind of where that is. But that's every contract. I think the patrol contract was $35,000, I think, roughly, that we moved to IT. So the jail has the exact same thing, except it's around 18, somewhere in that ballpark.
what's your retention policy on it?
So it varies on per category. That's why I like this thing, is because if we go in there and we have an issue going on inside the jail, and it turns out to be a felony, it could be up to 50 years, according to what it is. It's based on a category. If it is a standard walk in the door, nothing happened, booking, it's 12 months. If that makes sense. And there again, that's just any arrest. Now, our cameras in the jail are 6 months. So it gives us a little more time frame after that, just for open records type thing. So, but if it's anything that we have to go hands-on, the jail staff actually, when they download their body camera, they have to go in and categorize what they actually done. So if it's a use of force type incident, then it'll change. It could be 4 years, 5 years, based on.
Yeah, but I mean, that's instantly, like, I'm just saying, just in general, if that camera's running, no reason to go back and say, we need to pull this for investigation or court or, record retention purposes?
So in
6 months.
In the jail is 6 months, on patrol is 90 days. It varies. Yep. Yep.
Now, if I recall correctly, when the body cam video storage, server issues, because it just sucks up servers. I mean, it just clogs them up.
And that's the reason why we do the cloud-based with that.
Correct, that's why it's so much, in a way, that's
Yep.
cheaper than
Yep.
the opposite route of trying to have a dedicated server constantly, because of retention, you just gotta buy another one, you gotta keep buying them until these roll empty,
There you go.
eventually.
And their quality is just unreal. Like if you watch any video, I mean, you see that little word Axon anywhere on YouTube, I mean, their quality is just amazing. So, CYA,
Oh, I get it.
yeah. Glad you asked that.
Back to champs.
Yes, sir.
Susan, just on a note to this, and it ain't got anything to do with the jail, but we'll see it, line item IT. It says when they put in there one computer, which is 3+ years old,
Yep,
we need to try to verify how old that computer is.
okay.
I mean, from now on, when they say, hey, I got one that's 3 years old,
Yeah.
because I've seen that like 30 times, in
That
all
was,
these different
yeah,
versions.
those are the ones
But
that.
if it's 8 years old, I need to know there's a difference.
Well, and when Thomas gave me these to start with, he went in and tried to figure out how many was in a department, and of those in the department, how many of them were 3 years or older, to give some kind of idea, because he said a lot of them were starting to crash, and he just needed to, it's not to say, hey, we need the money today, it's, hey, we need to know that going down the road, we got this many that's gone over that 3-year mark that's going to end up dying sooner than later. I was like, okay, but that was how he worded it when he gave me the list. But yeah, we can do that. I think what we need, and he had said that, probably we need to take an inventory
That's what I just had,
and have a list.
because we have some.
But I've been working it to death with phone.
Oh, I know, no, I know exactly what's going on there. Also, you'll notice that there's under jail, or under chance, that the vehicle is very low. And that is because we have a couple good vehicles in chance, but not all of them.
If I understood correctly, those, you pass those,
Absolutely.
if it's not roadworthy, it goes to them.
Well, not patrol worthy, high speed pursuit worthy.
Well, they're not gonna chase down a kindergarten.
No. That's the thought process.
Any other questions on champs, John? E911. This was another very good budget that we put together. Brendan done a good job on this one.
It is.
So I guess the increase on this is just, looking at a 3% COLA and then additional positions and overtime, so it's all,
It's all manpower.
It's all
and
manpower.
Just cost of goods, honestly.
and you, how many dispatchers is wages down?
Down 3 as of today. And 2 is crucial. I hate to say that, but, yeah.
We were down during the coronavirus run through the building. We were down 8 at one time.
That's correct.
Do you see some applications for?
I'm not gonna lie, very few. I've got one applicant right now for the jail. We're in the hiring process now. That's the first applicant for the jail. That was hireable. That's come in a little bit, and, a lot of people just don't want to do this line of profession.
Yeah.
It's just what it is.
Yeah, I know my friend
Yep.
Got out of.
Yep.
The bad part is this role right here, 911, is maybe the worst of them all,
Right.
just to be honest.
Oh, I know, other stress.
Yep, it is.
Any questions, gentlemen? Well, Jeff, I appreciate it, buddy.
Hey, once again, thank y'all so much.
We got one more to run through the state seizure jail conviction.
Oh,
yes.
Special
This is
budget.
part of when the board gets ready to approve the budget as a whole, these are on consent agenda.
Yeah.
Just so y'all see those before.
Yeah.
I don't, in here, I don't think there's a breakdown of how y'all spend it. Michael has personally told me, you know, when you said that revenues, he's told me what the expenditures go to, and they were all worthy causes, but this board may want to know what your expenditures are, just in case.
I can tell you right now, the state seizure revenue is, I don't know that it's gonna happen at all. I just threw this number out there, just, shot in the dark as a hope. Courts are so backlogged, and by state law, that once we do actually seize something for us to go after it criminally, we have 90 days to get it in front of the judge, okay? The downfall is picking up and calling the DA and say, all right, I need this served immediately, or we can get this on the court docket where we can roll. It's not gonna happen in 90 days. It's just not. So therefore, if we lock up someone, that we have a seizure, we have to put it in pending seizure, which is audited. Pending seizure sits there and waits on the criminal trial to take place. So this number that I pull out of the top of my head is just, okay, hoping that some of those that we have backlogged in pending seizure will come into criminal trial, and the county's actually awarded what is actually illegal funds, and we don't have to give it back. So, and all that depending on what happens during the criminal trial, if that makes sense. So that's, and honestly, I just pull that out of, you know, one year it could be $100,000, like hallelujah, and next year it could be $3,000. And it could be the actual expenditures. We're allowed to use it for, honestly, equipment. If there's a unique something that CID needs that may not be a budgeted item that y'all see, there may be a $4,000 or $5,000 upgrade on a listening device for drug ops, that type of stuff. I immediately go, you know, I don't want to bring everybody in and just say, hey, I need to spend $8,000, that's not budgeted. So if I have the funding set in seizure, that's what we use it for. So a lot of that. The jail commission, very similar. We will receive a commission based on store-bought goods. State law says that commission has to go back to the inmate need. We try to use that, which is basically nearly every sheriff in the state of Georgia tries to use that for the vehicle. So the vehicle that we typically use, I had to buy 2 new transport vehicles. One of them we paid for out of jail commission, and the other one comes out of slots. So that's kind of what we're for. Christmas donation is exactly what it is.
Yep.
Yep.
Didn't the state law change on your state seizures as to how you can, that you're not allowed to collect what you used to be able to collect? Now you gotta give it back.
And a lot of it is pending. There's a lot of things that went before the House that was trying to get changed. Honestly, at the end of the day, I can see civil forfeiture as being a thing of the past.
Correct.
I really can. I mean, it's about to be gone. You know, I think there's a few $1,000 sitting in the checking account right now. Very little.
But either way, any of these expenditures don't happen until you have revenue that's been
You got it.
documented.
Yep. You got it.
We'll put it on line item to approve. We'll get them, buddy. This, we'll put it on the agenda for consent.
Yes, it'll go in the consent agenda. Yeah, this is the Katie stuff also.
Thanks, sir.
Anything else?
Good, thank you.
All right, thank you, guys.
Tell Chef Moore he did a good job.
He did a great job, I'm proud of him. No F-bombs today.
Yeah, tell him that's one of Ronald Reagan moves. He made sure that he got the right folks to speak for him.
Thank you, guys, thank y'all.
I think we all remember the days when that right there could have went south in a hurry. It's working with Jeff, and Jimmy, Pat, and Michael. They make life easy, to be honest with you. They do a good job.
For us,
I'm speaking for myself, not y'all.
you're gonna make life easy for us.
I can't agree
You
every
have
day.
a job that nobody wants. All right, young lady, what you got?
Where are we going to start?
Superior Court, so we'll do circuit court.
Okay, let's see. 40, or no, 36.
35.
Okay, because the clerk of Superior Court one is 36. So you want like the courtroom?
Yes.
Okay.
Facility 35.
Okay.
Let's put that first.
Okay. Let's see.
That's a reduction from 23, so we're talking about that.
We, we,
Looks good to me.
We like those, the rest of them like it.
I thought you was gonna say you liked the $3 increase. So it's pretty easy, as to why we got there, and it goes back to cleaning up the actual back from 2020. Katie had done a good job rolling the money forward, but a lot of times she don't see the bottom line at the end of the day, at the end of the year. So Susan has them. So we was able to go back and say, yes, we see where you were budgeted 20, but it looks like you spent 12. And then we saw the next year was 24 and you spent 15, so forth and so on. So we just cleaned that number up. Again, now next year it may not be, for instance, the first line or the second line or third line. There may be increases, but this year we were just cleaning up a lot of old numbers, and that's why you saw a reduction. I promise you, she didn't ask for any less.
well, I didn't ask for any more, anymore.
It just sounds
You
better.
just need to get it done, right?
That's it.
There you go.
Okay. 36. There's not really anything that we budgeted for anymore. Any higher requests, everything's pretty much either reduced or the same. The computers in 35,
Yeah, I was just figuring to say, we skipped that little ball in the back.
yeah, we don't, the county doesn't provide us with computers. The clerk's authority provides those to us for no cost, and they take care of handling our, Microsoft Word, like our office software and that kind of thing. There are a few things that the county does provide for us, like our maintenance for the court, like that, all of that stuff, and then our Icon, our case management system, those go into that, and that's pretty much the only thing. And QuickBooks doesn't fall in anything that the clerk's authority provides for us. Awesome. Okay.
So now going back to 36, back page.
Yes, that's what I was just talking about, the computers and stuff. That's why we don't request any money for any new computers or anything like that, just because they provide those to us.
40.
Did you know? Again, anything higher requested, if anything, a decrease other than interpreter. Yes, those are, especially in juvenile court, we see a lot more need for that than the superior civil or criminal side. Just because there are a lot of children that, are from the whole area, that even in the school they have to have some sort of interpretation. Our juvenile caseload is very high right now. It's a constant.
You can tell the days we have juvenile court
Yes,
in
you
this
can.
building.
Yes,
It is insane.
it's like a tornado. I mean, it's gotten to the point where if we don't have a superior court judge here and it's just Judge Caswell, it's gotten to the point where he wants those, because they're still hearings, so public can't come in and listen to those, so he will send those to the small courtroom on our hallway, and we have to close our doors because the children are terrible. And, I mean, we get them brought in every court day, probably 2 to 5 in shackles. It's not anything, it's just getting worse.
It's very concerning. When you have a juvenile come to court, normally, like in a standard case of an adult, there's 2 or 3 people there with that inmate. With the juvenile, it seems like they bring the family, the whole family.
Yeah.
Comes. Grandmas, granddads, aunts, uncles, and every nephew they own.
And just this year, which this is, I can't remember the last one that we've had. We have 3 juveniles that are being charged as adults that are in the 12 to 14 range. Just this year. One was just went before the grand jury last week. So it's not, and they're terrible crimes, like terrible.
Where are you at with staffing?
I'm, as of right now, good with staffing. We're fully staffed. I've cross-trained a lot of the girls so that they are able to step in if somebody else is busy. And if I'm not in court, I can do whatever needs to be done. But a lot of times, we got lucky this week. We didn't have any jury trials. This is going to be the only week that we don't have anything. We've had court every day this month. It's not more than 1 court a day. So if we're trying to tackle the backlog, but the district attorney's office is down to 2 attorneys, not counting Park. So it's just been a slow process.
How far behind you guys?
We still have a handful of 2018 cases still open. And that's not really necessarily any fault of the district attorney's office, but the defense counsel will ask for continuances because, crime lab's behind. And, we can't go to trial without knowing what's been found, what's been tested, but the crime lab is very behind as well.
On the juvenile cases, their time frame allotted, once you reach a certain time frame, if that case is not heard, that case is dismissed.
Yeah.
That was a problem during COVID, is we were releasing a lot of people out of the court system just because we ran out of time, couldn't hear them fast enough.
Once the complaint is filed with the DJJ and they bring it to our office, we have to schedule it within no sooner than 7 days, no greater than 10 days. So it has to fall between that 7 to 10 day window. It has to come before a judge. So if we don't have a court date in Madison County, we may have to send them to Overlord for Elbert County or something like that, because if it's not heard within that time frame, then it has to be dismissed by state law. And in some instances, it has to be heard within 48 to 72 hours, just depending on what the charges are. So it's a lot of stuff to keep up with and try to make sure that we're able to do stuff. And since we came out of COVID, it's been a lot better just because we have the the facilities we have, we're able to be in court when then it's kind of like a toss-up if you could social distance or if people could appear virtually, but we are really getting back to bringing those people back into court. The only thing that we really handle virtually now is inmates, and that's just because the jail is so short-staffed. It's easier just to have them there on video. We don't have to worry about extra security here, and it moves a lot faster.
So, the next line item after that, is the indigent defense agreement.
Yes, and they are requesting, I believe, an increase, it's pretty much based on population as far as, I know Madison and Franklin counties are the higher rated counties just because our caseload is much higher than, Franklin and Oglethorpe and even Hart County. But that would be, that's an agreement that y'all have to come to with them. But I mean, I haven't been to any other juvenile court in any other county but here. But I know that if we have juvenile court, there is nowhere to park here. Like even with the extra lot, like there's nowhere to park at all. But it's really bad. And that's also, again, like Todd was saying, they bring their whole entire family. But a lot of these people, they don't know if their child's going to be released to go home with them or if they're going to have to go to YDC or in custody somewhere. And also the DFACS cases, they have to have caseworkers here, and then a lot of times the children are provided their own attorney, and then the parents have to have a separate attorney, especially if it's a DFACS case and it's a dependency case. The child's taken away, so they have to have an attorney that's an advocate for the child as well as the parent if they choose to get an attorney. And so then that creates just that many more people here.
And I don't think you really have any part in this. This is something.
And that's something that that the public defender requests, and then I think y'all just kind of work that that agreement out.
I'm sure I will, or Susan one will get back with them on this because the amount to be paid, 4% administrative fee, that's above and beyond what the county does is 3%. So we'll work out the negotiations on all that. Are you seeing on juvenile? Are you still seeing juvenile cases held here just because it's convenient, maybe for the judge to use this location versus some of the others? Because in the past, we have been holding more courts here because they like this building, which is obviously, it costs us a lot of money.
And we don't have a lot more of the courts rather than the other counties, but we have more than one courtroom here. And not only is it obviously more local to Judge Caswell, but even if he has court scheduled in Oglethorpe County or in Franklin County, and a superior court judge has to set an emergency hearing, he loses that space, whether it's 48 hours, 24 hours, 2 weeks time notice, he's bumped out with nowhere. And normally in that short of a notice, we're the only ones that have that extra facility available that he can use to hold those hearings, because if it is something like the beginning of the case, and that's their last day to hear it or it's dismissed, I mean, he doesn't have, he doesn't have a whole lot of choice. But we do have a lot more here than the other counties.
So the reason I asked that question was because I'd like advice from you. When they do the divisions based off population, that's truly not a right way to do it, because of the fact you're billing me for something, but then I'm already affording way more than everybody else that's not in the population division, just because you like my facilities.
Right.
But it's a little unfair.
It would be, and I totally get that and I understand, and I don't know what would be the best way to handle it, because if you were to bill them, say we hear 10 cases of Clark County here, and we bill them for that allotted time to replenish for bailiff and security. Well, if they hear one of our cases, they're gonna do the same thing to us, and then it's just gonna become, and we're not really gonna know if it's heard there or not, because a lot of times we won't get anything from, like, it might be scheduled, but the hearing may not go forward, it may be continued. And a lot of times, we won't know that until later on down the road, once we receive that back from DJJ or DFAC.
But at the end of the day, it's still on the docket.
Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day.
It's gonna show up as being on the docket.
Mm-hmm.
I just hope that whoever's in the divisions of this don't take advantage of our kindness.
Right.
That's what I'm hoping.
Right. I mean, and there might be a better way. I don't know if Judge Caswell has even thought of that idea as to maybe doing like a monthly billing to the other counties if they hold that here. But in turn, we're not going to get as many bills as we would need to send, ultimately.
And I guess the reason I asked that, and for the bigger picture being, if juvenile becomes, as it's going now, growing as much as it is, we're just a small cry away from having more security, because the 2.5 can't keep up with it.
Right.
There's no way.
And there is a possibility of a second juvenile judge in the next year to 5, like 1 to 5 years, just as well as a second, or I'm sorry, it would be the 4th superior court judge here. And they tell us that every year, but our numbers are right on spot with the Metro Atlanta counties. Our judges have more cases assigned to them individually than their judges do. But of course, they have 7 judges that work that circuit, where we only have 3. So it just makes our caseload that much higher and that much longer to take care of and close those cases.
All right.
If we, I guess just from a logistics standpoint, I mean, if state law says a juvenile judge has to have a court proceeding 7 to 10 days or even 44 to 48 hours, and then Superior Court judge says, I need an emergency hearing, you're gone.
Well,
I mean, that seems to be.
Depending on the circumstances, he will call to see if he can use the next county over's courtroom and just move that hearing there. It doesn't happen very, very often, but it has happened several times in the last month or so. Well, he'll call, 2 or 3 days before and say, hey, I've had a judge to schedule an emergency hearing. Can I use this room for this day? And if it's clear, then I tell him, yes, we can do that. If it's something that he's like, there's no way around, like I'm going to have somewhere, and I've exhausted all my other avenues, then I'll ask Christina, hey, can we use the BOC room, just because we have to have, like, there's nowhere else for him to go. And that's only been a handful of times, not a whole lot. But it just really just depends on the circumstance of the case. They try to schedule the newer cases kind of all on the same day, so that if it's something, they won't have to reschedule more than 1 day. And DJJ is getting a lot better about keeping up with that and making sure that it's more individualized on the types of cases, severity of cases, and what kind of needs to be heard in a certain timeline. So, Randy's, she's done a really good job with keeping up with all of that information and making sure that we have it timely so that we can make sure it's in turn scheduled accordingly. So.
Who does that?
Randy Bettis. She, when Donna left, she took over Donna's place. So.
Because we're in conversation on some other things, big picture type things, okay?
Mm-hmm.
What would you, looking in the time that you've been the clerk of the court here, the growth in the number of cases, Madison County?
Honestly, we could use it last year, because between probate, the state hearings, he uses, sometimes he has to use the jury room, or he uses his office space, but a lot of times he has to revert back to that because we're having to use both courtrooms. And then say there's a trial week and Cody has probate court that Friday and we're not finished, but then also there was also a juvenile day scheduled. So then that's kind of, it doesn't happen very often, but especially with the space of that smaller courtroom, if we could get something just a little bit that housed a little bit more for criminal days, because we're seeing a lot, the judges have gotten to where they're doing civil in the morning, or criminal in the mornings and civil in the afternoons, just to try and take away some of those days.
If, and here this is rubbing crystal balls and all, if we had an additional courtroom, the likelihood of us having a judge whose office is here,
Mm-hmm.
which would also potentially expedite moving cases forward.
Right. Now, I can't speak for, so in the upcoming election, obviously Judge Malcolm, the chief judge, he is retiring. So it's not a necessity. I know that in this budget there is all 5 counties kind of put towards his office there in Clark County. But I can't say that if that space is here, that a newly elected judge would want to go to Hartwell. I mean, we've had the need for a judge. Just when Judge Hodges retired, we had hoped that we would get Judge Watson here, but we didn't have the space. And Judge Hodges had an agreement already with Franklin County in their courthouse, and there was an office there. Same now as Judge Wasserman is there as well. But I don't, other than the county splitting the cost of Judge Malcolm's office, there's not an agreement that I'm aware of with Hart County that he has to have an office there, same as Judge Phelps. I think that he's in his old law practice, I believe. He's just turned, well, actually, no, he has moved to the government complex. They provide him with an office there. But I don't think that his office has to be in Elbert County. I think that's mainly just kind of where he's resided, and that was where his law practice was, so he stayed in Elbert County.
But at the end of the day, though, if I've understood the numbers I've seen and everything, demographically, it would make sense for a judge to be here.
Mm-hmm.
But also, just from simple travel distance,
Mm-hmm.
for people in Oglethorpe County, it would be better to come here than it would be to go to Hart County.
Right.
Or to go to Franklin County.
Mm-hmm. It definitely would. It would make a lot of sense to have a Superior Court judge here.
We have the offices here available. They're empty.
We just don't have the courtrooms space.
Right. And we
We
don't
have
have.
if you look at Oglethorpe, Franklin, and the rest of them, we have one of the larger courtrooms.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So we already have more than everybody else has got.
Yeah, but we don't have the number is what counts, that we've got one for Superior Court,
Mm-hmm.
where if we had 2, some of these numbers that we've seen where we're paying a larger share, we could actually draw in some of that money back from other counties.
Because the only other county I know that has a facility is Elbert County, because they have the old historic courthouse, so they can hold court there. I don't believe that it's set up virtually to do a lot that they want to do, but then they have the government complex, which is the old school, just like here, that's set up for everything, and they mainly use that there. But that's the only other. Oglethorpe does not have anything. They're still in the old, very historic courthouse same for Franklin. And I don't believe that Hart County has anything other than what they have at their government complex.
And that's what I was trying to get to. We already have the largest courts area, and we already have the offices. They're just choosing not to be here, whether we add another building or not. They're still in areas operating today, Hart County being one, or Elbert County. It's still smaller than what we've already got.
And I think too, a lot of that was also Judge Malcolm. He lives in Hartwell, and then Judge Phelps lives in Elberton, and that's kind of why they stuck to that area. But as far as the Franklin County, they have that agreement there where they have him in the old historic courthouse, and so it just makes it easier.
At least 2 out of the 3 judges we have will be either retire or
Potentially.
or not run for re-election.
Right. So the one that we know for sure will not return is Judge Malcolm, but there is the potential to have also an election and have a replacement for Judge Watson and Judge Phelps also. So we could potentially have 3 completely new Superior Court judges.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Law library revenue budget. I'll go over that real fast.
So we have, like Cody, we have a subscription to Thomas and Reuters, and we supply all the books for the law library for Superior Court, and we're mandated by state, we have to have a law library. Nobody ever visits it, but we have to have it in case somebody ever wants to try and represent themselves. And they come out with new updated books every so often. And we've also done the Unicode. The board has approved that the past several years to purchase that. And then if any upgrades need to be done to the courtrooms, whether it be chairs, we just got new chairs for both jury rooms last year because the ones that we had were falling apart. We use that money to update any of that.
So the fees collected is just a fee for use of law library?
Use of anything courtroom related that we wouldn't necessarily have to use taxpayer money. It's just a fund that each court collects: magistrate, superior, juvenile, and probate court. They do a collection of law library every month, and it's remitted, and we just all compile that. And so Judge Patton, Judge Cross, myself, and there's several attorneys in the district attorney's office, and 2 of the Superior Court judges that are on the board there, and it has to be a unanimous decision before those funds can be spent.
And expenditures is 20, revenues 13.
And normally, I mean, last year we did spend that, and that was for the chairs. We are looking to have the benches in the courtrooms and the floors in the chamber, both courtrooms, deep cleaned because they are terrible. They really need that. I have somebody who's done that in the past. He's coming this Thursday to give us a quote on that. It may not be that much. It could be a lot less, but I don't know the way that inflation has.
So we can get a number prior to the adoption of the
Yes.
budget? Okay. And the reason is we just called a guy today. He's doing the EMS stations. That's what they do.
Okay.
It's upholstery and carpets.
Gotcha.
I can give you his number also. You may have it.
Okay.
Any other
And
questions?
did you want to talk to the deed? Did you need to know anything about the deed? Special revenue?
Go ahead.
I mean, it's not, but I just didn't know if you want any explanation.
Sure, go ahead.
So we get that revenue each month from all the historical projects that we've done. We have done a lot of clerk's offices don't have 80s and prior these plats and liens scanned in. We've done all of that. So whereas we would have to pay the clerk's authority and our vendors to come in and scan those in-house to make available online to the public. We've already done that. So they remit us those funds that they would pay somebody. So we've just received, I think it's year 1986, we've just received those funds. And what we do with those is, for our real estate vendors, we pay that monthly fee to them out of that. They handle all of our indexing. They handle all of like the cloud server as far as all of the older stuff, all of the newer stuff. They keep up with everything, make it available online. They have the programs that people can create username, passwords to print online and that kind of stuff. We also use that funding for all of our old books that are in the leather-bound books. The ink in those are the older ink. Once it sits, like it'll start to eat through the paper. So what we do is I try to send 2 to 3 books a year off to have those kind of taken in and redone so that it preserves those. So in 50 years, the pages aren't just falling apart and falling out of those books. But that's what that fund's used for. And it just depends on how many pages are in the book and how big the pages are, depending on how much the cost is per book. But that's all, and then it's no additional to taxpayers. Once we've completed those tasks, they send us the money, and then we can provide that service to the taxpayers.
Katie, I appreciate you coming before the board today, but I also appreciate the work you do daily in that office. I wouldn't have it. It's tough.
It is, but it's rewarding too.
Thank you, Jay.
All right, thank y'all.
Okay.
Young lady.
Good afternoon, gentlemen, ladies. I appreciate you, first of all, I appreciate you for being able to talk with me today about our budget for next year, the Board of Elections. And I want to thank Susan for all her help that she has given me over the last few weeks with the budget, getting it ready to present to you all. Some of the things have changed since I turned or emailed or mailed your paperwork to you back several weeks ago. We think that we may have gotten everything that you need in there in the packet together. As you know, the Board of Elections our budget is different from every other department here because we don't have set elections every year number. So we have to go back to previous years and look at those numbers. And with this one coming up being a presidential election year, we'll have to go back and look at 2020. Well, when we look at 2020, we also have to look at COVID that was in that as well. I'll start at the top with just going down through a few things. Please, at any time, ask me questions, stop me if you've got, anything that you want to ask me. First of all, the wages, department head, regular and part-time, that amount includes a 3% COLA increase, just like everyone else in the courthouse. I do want to say thank you also for the increases that you did for my staff this past year. That was a tremendous amount, and we certainly do appreciate that. I do want to talk to you about the part-time position. In the last couple of weeks, I have lost a part-time worker that's been with us about 3 or 4 years. Just when we get a person acclimated to the election world and they leave us for better pay or for a full-time position. And that was the case this time when we lost one of our ladies. And what I'd like to do, I'd like to come to you today and ask your consideration if we could take that 50% employee that we had and turn that into a full-time position going forward in 2024. Now, the figures that you have on there, I believe, is submitted at $14 an hour, and which we are appreciative that most of you know that you can't find someone with experience at $14 an hour. This position, our office has very sensitive information in it. We deal with social security numbers, driver's license, addresses, dates of birth, all kinds of things like that. They'll have to, we have to have somebody very trustworthy and honest. This person has to be very dependable and really have a nonpartisan attitude about it, about the election world. That person would also have to be able to at least lift 50 pounds. That's what we have to do when we go in and eliminate these machines. We have to lift these machines up, and to be honest with you, my back and Teresa's back can't handle it much more. And so that's just last time we got a poll worker, a gentleman to come in to help us, and that was a big help. I would like for this individual to be trained to do the election prep from the time we get the election project up to the certification. My goal is to have this person, if you would allow me to hire the full-time person, to have he or she certified as a municipal clerk with elections, also the general elections, all the things that we do to get ready for elections. You would be certified through the state, and as a registrar, municipal elections, county elections, and this process, we would start working on it right away, but this process is going to take, a while. It's something you just can't go into a position like at our office and it's going to take a while to learn all the steps that you have to do, that you have to go through. My ultimate goal is to have someone trained and certified to conduct county elections, because there's one day that I'm going to retire, and my staff will retire, and I don't want to leave the county, with not anybody there to do elections that's not trained or not, know what they're doing. I've been with the county for 33 years, and retirement especially next year coming up, is looking better every day, but I will wait a while. My husband says I have to wait anyway. But anyway, that's my thoughts, my plans for this position that I've got open now, is to make it into a full-time. There again, $14, that would be appreciative of it, but there's other offices. Just one got advertised this past week, I believe, in one of the departments, with, experience starting at $16 to $17 an hour. I don't know what that person would be doing, but I do know that one weekend would be certified. We would make sure that they were certified. That's just.
I don't know which one it is, maybe. I wanted to tell everybody before we get too far in this, because I know they're gazing over numbers, and they may be doing some comparisons to actuals of 2020. There was something in 2020 that's different than 2024. And what it was we had 5 elections in 2020, but 2 of them were at the same time. So it didn't cost us for this time, it's going to be 5 individual elections. So I just wanted y'all to know, if you see a difference, it's because we actually had 5, but it looked more like 4, where this time it's 5 standalone elections.
That's where COVID came in, and they moved the elections to, one actually went into, on into the year, and then the other, it wound up going into the next year. But Todd is right on that. We did not have it. It looks like that, but that's what we had. Our first election will be March the 12th. That's the presidential preference. And then they'll go from there all next year. So we will actually start working on that election in December. That should increase, that's just getting our ballots ready and getting everything to the ballot bills and things like that. Do you have any questions about that section so far?
What does it cost us to do an election?
Well, the city, we just did the city of Hull, and it costed a little over $8,000. They had 212 voters. 48 showed up to vote. So, of course, the county's going to cost the county, quite a bit more. But that's one thing, that when we do city elections, we turn around, we bill the cities for that. They reimburse the county for that portion, which I've done that already for for the one we just had for them.
8,000, you had 48 voters?
$166 a vote.
Yes.
The reason I asked is, you mentioned that 2020 had, they combined some elections, and then 2024 we got 5, just quick math, you know, you go from 330 to 490, so I mean, that's $170,000
And-
one election.
Well, we have, I mean, a lot of portion of that's gonna be coming in for your poll workers. That one line item there is including poll workers, provisional clerks, your custodians that take out the machines, your board pay, audit teams. With the new law, now we have to do audits after the election. So you have to bring people in to do that. All that is in that one group together. Elections they're not cheap anymore. And then with the system that we have, you have to use that special ballot paper. It's $65 a ream. And we have, from when the state mandated us and got this equipment that we're using now, we had paper up until, you know, I've bought a few reams of paper over the last several months, but we're fixing to have to hit a bulk of the paper, and that's going to run us several thousands of dollars. As you figure, right now we have over 23,000 registered voters in the county. That number is just growing every day. We're seeing a big turnout. Even in 2020, Chris, you don't have on that sheet that you have to do. I think our numbers in 2020 were right around 20,000, and now we've got, like I said, over 23,000. And the county's growing, and we're seeing all these subdivisions, as y'all know, that are coming in, and people are registered to vote.
One other thing we need to remind them of is now that the state has adopted the Saturday voting.
Yes, that's absolutely.
We have to take into account that in our overtime.
We have 17 days now to vote. The new law that they have made the 2 Saturdays mandatory. So we're here from 9 in the morning, well, actually before then, to get the machines open and get them ready, up until 5 o'clock or a little after to shut everything down. And of course, the bigger the elections, the more machines you have up, the longer it's going to take you to open and close them. So we have a team that gets in there and gets all that done.
So most of that overtime is for those extra days?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because that's $50,000.
Right, yes, sir. That is a lot. It is, I admit, but we're going to have to have it. We're going to have to have it.
How many days overtime?
7 to, well, you're actually, like Teresa and myself and one other of the ladies in there, if we work the 40 hours a week, now, we're going to come in, if we have to open up at 8 o'clock, I'm going to be there at 6:45 or 7 to open up machines. So it's going to put us 3 in overtime by that Friday, and every Saturday that we work is going to be overtime. Now, the poll workers that come in and help us out, I'll schedule their hours around so that they will not have as much overtime as, you know, working the 17 straight days. So yeah, that is correct on that. Let's see. Going on down the line, there again, 5 elections that we're having. I want to go to the professional. I had originally in the past I had asked for $5,500 for a contracted labor person, but if I'm allowed to get this full time, that amount will go out of there, which we have deducted it from the totals there. But I just wanted to mention that to you as well. If you do not approve that, you know, consider that as giving me the full time, I'd like to have that added back in.
You've got 2 columns.
Yeah, there's 2
Okay,
columns there.
good. Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Just so you can compare.
Right, okay, thanks. On the maintenance contract, other equipment, let me explain the decrease in that. We have paid out $17,631. That is for warranties on the equipment that we have. We have found out that the warranty doesn't cover the problems that we're seeing. So what we're going to do is I'd like to just do away with that part of the warranty on the BMD, without marking devices, and keep the warranty on the main hub, the elections management system, and our scanners, the ones, the big boxes that you see at the precinct. And that would take that down to around $8,000 that we have there. We do have 3 machines that have to go back now. I'm waiting on the RMAs to be completed from Dominion. That's just some things some internal things that's gone crazy with them. But And as you all know, when the state mandates you to have something, they may give you that first initial deployment, but anything after that, the county's gonna have to pay for them. And with the law that we have now, you have to have so many machines per so many voters. And right now we are at our limit. We have 88 machines. I think it's 250 voters per machine. So we're actually probably, we probably should use new ones now. That's one reason that I'm asking for the 5 new machines on down in the budget here.
On that, just to ask the question there, if we don't get the full maintenance agreement on the machines, what's the exposure the county would have if an election was challenged?
I don't think that would have anything to do with the challenge in the election. I have found out that the majority of the counties, they have no warranty coverage. And some of them have just the election management system, just that computer system where we're sitting at election night where it's tallying everything up. A lot of them don't even have it on the ballot marking devices. Now, if something wants to go down, the county has to start buying those, then that's like $3,500 for a set, for a whole grouping of that ballot marking device. But as far as the warranty, I don't think that has anything to do with that. Even your Clark County, Franklin, Hart, all around in our area, most of them do not have they do not cover the large warranties.
And there is one caveat that we met with the state office last week, Bonnie?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I think last week. And we are going to help the state office out on something they're doing for Northeast Georgia. In return, we are going to get some battery backups, enough to do our county. Now, there's several different batteries for this machine, but this one particular one, because we're going to let them house the supplies for Northeast Georgia in our sanctuary over there that's empty, so they can distribute them out. They're going to give us those in return.
Like a small UPS septic.
Yes, sir. Yes, so they're smaller, and we have 45 right now, so they'll be giving us 45, and that will be just like a hub for Northeast Georgia, that they'll come and take them out to the different counties. Yeah. But that's really good for us being able to get those 45, because when they did the budget at the state level, but the state didn't budget for it. The counties they were going to mandate it, but the counties were going to have to pay for it. But
I'm going to ask another dumb question here. If you've got 45 UPS systems down there that are going to have to be charged and maintained, do we have anything in here that do something to give you 45 plugs in some room down there?
Well, what we do is we rotate them out, and you don't charge all of them at the same time. We would have a schedule that we rotate. That's what we do ours now. They're charged before the election, and then we just have them on a rotating basis. That's with our ballot marking devices and our scanners. Right now, we've got all of our 20 of our scanners plugged up right now. But that's when we moved over here, they had it fixed that we would be able to charge.
We built it around her specs, so she knew where the charging stations, how the shelves want to be, and it's laid out really, really well. I mean, you done a good job with that.
These newer UPSs are going to be smaller for us, and they won't weigh quite at 60, 70 pounds, so that would be good on our backs. Well, especially Mr. Harris, because he has to deliver everything out. Okay, anything else? I'm going to keep on going unless y'all have something on to stop me. The postage and the mailing, of course, with next year being a large election year, we're going to have the absentee ballots. In 2020, we mailed out 9,949 ballots. We did have COVID that year, but it seemed like everybody got on the bandwagon after that and wanted, an absentee ballot for one reason or the other, and that's fine. And when we mail those out, those are about $1 a piece. And then the whole process, we mail the application, then we have to turn around and mail the ballots. So it's, you got it coming and going, and then our normal mailings that we have with precinct cards and things like that would add up as well. And different letters, spelling letters, deceased letters, things like that. Advertising, and a lot of these things, like the advertising, it's done. I know that you remember hearing about House Bill 202. That was the election law. That was a lot of things that went into there that's costing the counties. And one of them is advertising. We have now, some of our advertising that we have to do has to be a certain size. You have to run it for so many weeks. You know, you used to run it 1 week or 2, but now they want you to run it 4 weeks. And that adds up. So that's the increase in that line item. And printing and binding, there again, that is for our ballots. And per HB 202, you have to have 10% of the registered vote, number of registered voters. You have to have those ballots at the precinct for emergency purposes. Say something happens and everything goes down and you're not able to use the scanners or anything, we have to have those ballots there for emergency basis that those workers can get those ballots out and have a person go through and do the paper ballot and put them in the machine. And so the law says we have to have 10% of what we have registered voters. We always have to order those from, we get all of our ballots from Tatnall out of South Georgia. Office supplies, there again, when I mentioned earlier about the reams of paper, the ballot paper, it is $65 a ream of 500. In your packet, I kind of give you some cost of what they charge. And you notice that when I keep saying the many, the things that we have to have, they are the vendors, so they're the ones that supply the paper and the other things that we need to run the elections. That's all I'll say about that.
Thank you. I was thinking the same thing.
And then the food item, the food expense, I'd like to increase that to $1,000 so that we can show the poll workers appreciation and that the county, pay for it on that end. And then I also host a regional meeting with 17 of our counties around. I'm the regional facilitator for those, and I'd like to host one meeting a year for that we just have little snacks or something for our meeting. We usually have people from ethics, or this time we're working on having 2 members of the state election board come and talk to us, and so that's always real good information. And you're all welcome. We're going August the 2nd to Jackson County with ethics. So if you ever want to understand anything about ethics other than calling Teresa, you can go up there and talk to them. Any questions? Small equipment capital outlay, like I mentioned, that is for 5 BMD, about marking devices, battery backup, the marking printer, all that comes as a set. Those are $3,500 a piece. I'm also asking for poll pad printers, and none of you came in and voted because none of you live in the city of Hull. I don't think, do you live in the city of Hull? Okay. But we have, and this is coming down the line too, eventually that this will have to be mandated. It's not right now, but they're poll pad printers. And what that is when you go into vote, we're using them during early voting. You go to the voter goes in there, you check in, and on our back side, it prints out like a voter certificate, where, in the past you have to fill out the voter certificate, or you come to us and we print it out and you sign it. Well, this time, the only thing that you're doing is the voter's going to sign that screen, that iPad, and then we'll print out our documents on this side. It's a paper trail for us to have, for audit purposes and things like that. Those units are $645 a piece. There again, the state's not paying for those, and eventually they will probably be mandated for us, but they're just telling us to get ready for it. But I want to kind of go ahead and get what we can right now, because I do know that we'll probably have to buy them if it is mandated.
So my concern on that one is as sure as we pre-buy them and start using them, the state will come out and say, no, you got to buy this one from Dominion. Yours won't be any good.
Right.
That's what I'm worried about. We're pre-buying something.
Right,
the states still don't know what they're going to have you do.
And I can get some clarification on that. And that vendor is No Ink. That is who handles our poll pads. And I'll go ahead and add this in here too. It is mandated that we use cellular poll pads this time. We have, on election day, I'll have a system called ePulse, so I can go in and monitor all the precincts and catch problems before they get out of hand. For the poll manager may call me and say, we've got something going on here with the machine, I will be able to see it because I'm assuming it's cloud-based, I don't know how all that works. But, the cost for that is, there again, it's costing the county, is right at $3,000 a year. But if you'll look back on Thomas's, the IT, where we've got down maintenance contract software, and outside of that, I have EasyVote. With this cellular data that we're getting on the poll pads, I will do away with EasyVote because these poll pads will do everything that I need it to do. They're going to talk to my voter registration system. They're going to give them credit. So that basically is going to take care of that. I mean, I'll still have the 3,000, but it'll just be another vendor and not EasyVote. It'll be no link.
So how many of those printers were you talking about?
I've got 3 already that we've actually ordered back this year, and I'm asking for 3 more. I'd love to have them enough for the printers to have 28 enough for election day, but they'll still talk to me without the printers. I would like, in the future, when you start talking about the SPLOST monies and divisions, if you would, please consider elections in that for the equipment, because this equipment, it can't last forever, and we're going to start having to do some type of pay, system where we're replacing things. But I would like for you to consider, talking about that in the future with the SPLOST. Any questions?
You wanna go back to punch card?
Well, let me say this. There's been some people that are advocating very strongly about paper ballots. The state of Georgia, the Secretary of State has chosen a way that we vote. That's what we have to do. We can't go and just because the county, someone's upset because of, the machine, they don't like to use the machine and they want a paper ballot, you'll have to get a absentee ballot because we will not we have to use what the state mandates us, and that's the equipment they use is the Dominion voting equipment. Right now I have an open records request that people are asking for all these things. I have an open records request, has come through last week. They're wanting, since 2020, they're wanting copies of every absentee ballot application that we have had. I did my figures, went back and looked. Of course, I've talked to Mr. Pruitt, got his advice on how we need to handle it. I submitted my answer for the open records today. Between myself and Mr. Pruitt, we come up that to do that one open records, it's going to cost about $24,000. So I'm waiting to hear from them if he wants us to proceed. But we will not proceed until we have that check in our hand. And then he turned right around and asked, the same guy asked for copies of the absentee ballot envelopes. So there you go, he's got that. So this is we're just now starting. It's been doing open records for a while, but now they're just getting more and more.
You notice they asked for it digitally, if preferred, so they didn't have to pay anything for it. I did Google that company too, just to see if it was out there.
He's asked for several things.
Yeah. So on the back, because there's one more in the very back. You had put down some statistic numbers for us for all the dates, how many poll workers it took at each place.
Right.
In red. I just wanted everybody to know where they were.
Oh, okay, right, yes, sir.
The statistics of how many people work where on which days.
Right. And this is this is the 5 elections. This is because it's a major election year. We, in a presidential election year, we have more people come out and vote. I would love for our numbers to be higher in early voting, but these people love to go and vote on election day. I'm certainly not going to tell them they can't go and vote on election day. But that just gives you some amounts, some totals that we have, and the training fees and things, and what it costs.
Secretary of State also mandates the number of days polls open.
Yes, they handle all that. We do not set any of that up. They're the ones that, they set the election date, and then they, in law, it's got that we have to be open the 3 weeks prior to election plus the 2 Saturdays. And then that Saturday before the election, Teresa and I have to come in to do the update on the poll pads to get them ready for Tuesday.
The early voting still is only one place.
Yes, it's still at our office. That's the only.
All the other.
It's on election day. It's on the right. Right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And this page that Todd was referring to, we did this to show you the breakdown of just the election workers. So that's where that 137,000 comes from, how it's made up.
137,420.
Just to try to help you guys understand where that figure comes from, because
I think, yeah,
there's a lot of people that.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
from there.
I got cornered at lunch for 30 minutes trying to explain to that part. I know where you're going with that. We just do what the state tells us. We don't dictate the state. I know you got a good, strong case that here, but we still have to go by these rules.
Exactly.
And I don't want to think about nobody else. I think elections are overly priced. They're overly extended. In my personal opinion, we need to do one day just like we always did. But we don't get to make that decision.
That's right, that's right. And, you know, we used to say, in the past, I've said a lot of times we have non-election years. Well, that is no more. Just like this year should have been a non-election year, but it's a municipal. And because the county contracts with the municipalities, we had a special in June, and then we've got 5 of the 6 that will have elections in November. And that will be split, that amount will be split between the 5 cities that they'll reimburse the county for that. So,
Well, these city elections should be based off population, the days. The early election, 14 days, 17-day window should be determined based off population.
we had 19 to come in in about 17 days.
Correct.
So,
And when you have 43 voters, the potential 200 residents, 100 registered, 48 votes, it should not cost $8,000 to the taxpayers. That is just ludicrous.
But there'll be,
But the state gets to do it, not us.
but look, and there'll be somebody that if you cut anything, they'll say that they were not treated fairly, and they weren't given an opportunity to vote.
Voter suppression.
That's right, voter suppression, I guarantee it.
Nobody goes 17 days without a gallon of milk.
Well, that's
If they
true,
drink it,
but
they won't, they
But
gonna go
still,
milk.
it don't mean they're not gonna claim it though, you know? That's somebody who lives in the grocery store claiming they didn't get to go to the case 17 days.
Can you give us some historical data on the number of voters in each precinct, like, for election?
not right off the top of my head, I could not tell you, but you want to know how many come, like,
Like Howard, you know, how many people vote at that precinct? You know,
Howard
36. I mean,
right, right.
I'm not
Okay.
saying, you know, and I said, you can send it to us later.
Yeah, I can get that and send to you now. PL would be the smallest one, they have 250 voters. Well, that little precinct down there will turn out the largest amount because, you know, they're gonna come down from that little area and we'll have a large turnout. Hull has almost 5,000 voters. We see a lot of Hull's voters during early voting, simply because they don't want to stand in the line over there, which we like that. Usually we will vote half to 3/4 of Danielsville's precincts early. So that, but it just varies on how many voters, but I can get that information up. We can go back and do that.
And we've had this been brought up before, and I know it's sort of it's a touchy subject, and you and the Board of Elections determine this. But as y'all, you know, as we look at this, if I'm looking at just numbers, and again comparing this back to 2020, which is the last presidential election, even with those numbers, that's nearly a 60% increase above the 2020 voting. So again, you know, being responsible to the taxpayers, we just need to always be asking the questions of, you know, is it appropriate for this precinct to remain open, or does it need to be combined?
I've got a couple of precincts really that need to be split now and have another one. That is the board's decision, our board. You're not really, I know that y'all were told back a couple of years back that it would save the county a lot of money. That is not true. You're still going to have the same amount of machines there. You're going to have the same number of workers. It's not, if you cut anything, you may lose 5 workers. But you're gonna have with that many machines, and then the main thing too is, we have no facility that we can put, like if you take, Fork, Comer, and Paoli and College, if you was to group them into one, or either group them by districts, there's no facility large enough to house all those voters there. You got to look at that, it's just, I'm not sure where that is.
And I understand all that, but, my whole point being, we just need to always be asking those questions.
Right, and right, and I'm a taxpayer too, and I completely agree with you, I can.
I do think you could, if the facility would warrant it, what you would do is you'd create shorter lines, because more of them would try to early vote if possible to avoid that larger. You would increase your, I think, just my thoughts. But I mean, I would only, and I'm gonna say pick on, I would use the ones where you only see that very minimum. And if you've got one within 3 or 4 or 5 miles to the next location, I would say that needs to go away. So maybe you can make a third one at Hull or a second one at Hull.
Probably the closest two that we have would be Pokey and Allen. And neither one of those facilities would house both of them together. I hardly have enough room in Pokey now to get those people that we have up there, because it's just such a tight. But there's no area in that district or in that area, that little area there, that I can put another precinct. It's just the way it is there.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Well, thank you again.
Any questions?
Ms. Payne, I have a question. Yes. I think I reached out to Mike about this, but I don't know if you got that. The board, Mr. Owens, that put in his resignation. Does that appointment come from this board, or does that come from?
It will come from you all. What will happen is the Republican Party will make a recommendation to you, and then you will approve that individual.
Okay, that's what I thought, the Republican Party would have a part, but I wasn't sure.
Right, and that can be whenever they get in touch with you, and I can touch base with Bruce too to find out what their plans are. And then they would fill his unexpired term, and then his term would end in 2025. I had sent him copies of our legislation and bylaws, so that he'd know in case anybody was in the party that, because you can't be vocal, and things like that. But any more questions?
Thank you, ma'am.
I do appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Y'all waited the longest, and you got one of the shortest ones. Well, not quite the longest, you got one more. Longest. So while she's passing those out, is this what this is? It's been a long day, girl. In the footnotes here, it says, which includes an increase for utilities for hotspots.
Yes, sir.
Make sure you explain that, because I don't know what that is.
Absolutely. So the first document you have there, that gives you a summary of the return on investment for 2022 with all the services that we provided to patrons. For every dollar the county put in, the blue one, yes sir, for every dollar the county put in, the library returned approximately $3.58 in services to county residents. And that was an increase over the year before, and I can tell you that the trend is just continuing to increase. Everything you see there, we're doing more of. In particular, a lot of computer use that is growing by leaps and bounds. You asked about hotspots. Not everybody has good internet access in the county. Hotspots are little devices that connect to, they work like your cell phone basically, but then what they do is you can connect your device to it to have internet. So we have 9 of these that we lend out, and each one has
a maximum amount of data each month. So a patron can, like if you needed a hotspot, you could come check one out for a week, use however much data you want during that week up to that total amount. And then it has to come back and can be checked out by somebody else, again, up until that maximum amount of data a month. We have 9 of these hotspots, and I believe it's 20 gig of meg per month that they have. We cannot meet demand. Patrons are using these very heavily, and every month now we're having to tell folks, sorry, if we have one in, it doesn't have any data left on it. So we're
What is
hoping
the cost
that-
on those?
It's just under $5.
They're gonna be $30.
They're $30 a month, but we received a GEAR grant, which purchased the hotspots for us, and the first year of the maintenance. So we would start picking up the maintenance at
October of 2023, the grant runs out. And so there'll be $30 a piece, and you have 9 hotspots in this county.
It'll be $270 a month.
Yes, sir. It will be about $2,400 for the year to provide those 9 still, if you decide not to add any extra.
And like I said, ideally, we would have more because we cannot meet the need.
This amount
$2,400
just covers the existing we have. Ideally, we'd love to expand.
Yeah, 270 would just cover the cost of what you already got. So let me ask you, what age group is using those hotspots, do you think, mostly?
Mostly adults, but
Me, my kids,
Yeah.
when we go on a road trip,
Yeah.
or I have to work in the car, so like if we're going somewhere and my husband has to work, a hotspot works like having internet. You can connect any device to it. Sometimes if I go to my in-laws, they do not have good internet, and if I have to like download something, the little Wi-Fi use the T-Mobile network.
So like you're saying, it's called a Moxie or something.
Maybe. I think that all the providers offer them,
Yeah.
but this particular grant was
You do it
also,
on your phone.
was awarded through T-Mobile. But it's a little, really confused.
I can get my 9-year-old, Kelly, to come and tell you exactly how to do it.
But it's just a little, well,
Yeah, you can do it from your phone. That's how I work when I'm not here.
Yeah.
I have my computer and use my phone as a hotspot.
My-
But we
Fill
don't,
your
you don't
battery.
charge a fee for them, it's just a check-in.
Right. Pardon?
You don't charge a fee, it's just a check-in.
Correct, that is correct.
Y'all are gonna lose your tail.
Well, they just, as long as they, what they got.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it won't be long. If you're gonna do this, you might as well be buying cell phones with internet on them. Yeah.
Well,
I mean, at $30 a piece, my son's phone line is $5 a month. And it has internet up to so far. And then if he was to run out of data, he hotspots off his mom's phone or off of my phone.
I think for
So-
some of our constituents, it might get access things.
It may be, but I'm just saying, you gotta be careful how broad you wanna open that box, because it's gonna get really, really wide, really, really quick. You started with 9, next year you'll be saying, man, I've got demands for 50 of these. I just had them, everybody would run them. So you're gonna have to recoup some of your costs somewhere, at some point. So I'm just giving advice, you're gonna need to recoup some of the costs somehow, because these things are expensive.
Is there any prioritization on these, or is it just first come, first served, and use whatever you know, if I get the first one, first day of the month, I could go run the 20 gig that week and.
that is correct, yes. There's no prioritization. It's just, if you ask if we have one and we have one available, we will lend it to you.
and again, they ended up in the library from a grant that the ARLS board did, and so was that a 1 or 2 year initially?
It was a 1-year grant, but it's the maintenance covered for that first year.
So it's not something that our branch has gone out and bought these.
Oh, no, I understood that.
I think that, initially the first year was funded, and it's my understanding that initially they weren't really widely used, and now it's catching on, so they're really great.
That is correct. At first, they were not going out at all, and then as we started saying, hey, we have these, and I think word of mouth spread, people started trying them and then let people, other folks know, hey, this is a really good thing to
The
use.
hotspots only work as good as the coverage is, and the coverage is better than Madison County.
I'm like Derek, I'm concerned about that. I mean, if the first guy gets it and keeps it for the weekend and burns through all of it, and that means for the next 29 days, nobody else gets to use it. I don't understand that. I don't see how that's fair to everybody.
Yeah.
Not as sick as it is. I mean, that's what I'm saying, the library offers that kind of stuff, and so
To
this
begin
is
with,
the,
was that kind of,
Well, they are,
I
but they're
think
asking
the
us for
grant was
money.
because you needed
Spanish.
kids to have.
That was giving you, yes, that was definitely part of
That's
it.
not where it ended up. It's
Well,
No,
not-
this is amended request for this, which also includes the increase in
Children do get the use of it, you have to be an adult to borrow it.
Okay, to check it out.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
I just like it needs to be parameters.
Is it limited, like what they can access? So if somebody doesn't have good, and I'm sorry if I'm speaking out of turn, somebody doesn't have good internet and they want to use the 20 megs to watch Netflix or something else.
It's
So
just
that
an
makes
extra
their-
data
There's no
provider.
filter, it's,
I mean, it's just.
There is.
there is no filter, it's, yeah, just whatever device you have.
It's an antenna, I mean, that's what it is, you know, you'll call it parental controls, or the use of it, or whatnot, is for the device, or, you know, like Katie's kids, like, you can't do this, I'm a mom.
Right,
And
right.
that's her prerogative, but it's just an antenna, I mean, ain't no different than the phone.
that's the reason you don't only want a parent checking it out, but hopefully it would be something that's being used correctly, but it's hard to monitor that, and that's what everybody's concerned about.
Well, it's like a lot of stuff, I mean, it's a balance, and it's hard,
Yeah.
it's, you know, I can see the service, I can see, you know, like anything, it can be abused.
Yeah.
You know, if you got some kids that need, you know, can't do homework or something, I mean, there's a lot of nuance to that, but it's.
How much did you say the device was?
Actually, I'm off a little bit because y'all are calendar year and I'm mostly working on physical year. We only have 2 counties that are on calendar year. So it would be for y'all for FY20 or for calendar year 24. They only have 9 of them there.
12 months is where you
It's
start.
32. I have 3240. You have 9. If you have 9 units, they're $30 a unit. 270 times 12 is 3240.
But y'all want to try to purchase more, or just getting,
Ideally, we'd love to.
but you said they're how much?
$30 a month.
No,
the unit.
You gotta buy the unit. There's no more grant, you have to buy the unit. If you go from 9 to wanting to do 15, that means we gotta buy 6.
I think at this point, we would just stay with the 9.
Just stay with it. We're just saying, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I was just saying,
we're just
ideally,
staying
we
with
would
the 9
increase,
for
but we're
now.
not asking for that at this time, sorry.
So how much are these things? That was my question.
$30 a month.
No,
How much is it?
But I have not seen the agreement with her.
I'm just curious,
I'll tell you
are they
what-
$1,000 to buy them, or 2,000?
No.
No, it's 150 for a good one.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
I've never bought one.
So it's basically you're buying service, not actually the product.
right.
Okay, product's cheap, okay.
Yeah, I think there are some students in particular, if we're thinking about youth, who might use them. My son did summer reading with AR, where you have to have internet access for that. We do. I don't know that every child in the community does have that access. I mean, they're definitely not all being used for that, to fit on each trip, but, you know.
If you need to reference those numbers under code enforcement and building, we ran those numbers for having admins in the field, having hotspots on the phone, everybody knows.
So beyond that, I'm going to turn the rest of the discussion over for the most part to Ms. Amelia Ross, our board chairperson, and Ms. Katie Morris, our board treasurer.
By the way, how's things going? I haven't seen you in a while. Good?
Things have been going well, thank you.
Good.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, it is very busy. Summer is popping.
I appreciate y'all housing your kids. I think y'all had the kids Friday.
Yes, sir. We
During
had them
the
a
work.
lot. They were, I wasn't in there most of the day, but I saw that they were there again today, and we're glad to have them.
They get some good field trials.
Yeah, they did.
That's the best money you'll spend. I wish we could do more of it. All right.
All right. Thank you, for all the work you do for our community and for having us here today to talk about the budget. We appreciate the work that you all have done to, do the county pay plan. It's commendable for our county, employees. We kind of looked at increasing our salaries in relation to that. That's what you'll see the primary of our increase in. A lot of that increase as well is with the, state health insurance plan. We will know for sure in August if it's going up, but we are told to expect about a 50% increase in the cost. Yeah, is that it's around 50%?
Just a little under.
A little under.
It's going up $1,500 per full-time employee.
You will see that heavily reflected in
Per month, right, but for the year, it's $1,500. Right.
Per month, it's $250. For the year, it's $1,500 that it's going up per employee. August, we will know, the state will make a decision in August. They have a conference held August 28th through 30th, and that's when we'll definitely know.
And that's per full-time employee per month.
So it is definitely burdensome. So we are expecting.
On the health insurance from Piedmont Hospital?
It's the state health
No,
insurance
we're on the
plan?
state health insurance benefits plan.
This ain't happened in regional library, so I thought y'all would maybe be on it.
Oh, yeah, no.
No,
Not
it's the
affiliated.
Well, that's a lot, but.
And I'm told it hasn't risen in a long time, so they're trying to make up for it, but it's, burdensome for everyone.
Okay, excuse me, go ahead.
So we kind of based our step-up plan for our staff over 3 years to try to reduce that burden. And we used the senior center director as a comparable position for our branch manager, and that was based off number of FTEs, budget responsibility, and then programming impact for the community. And then those increases as we expect them in health insurance and just general expenses that we all know go up, have been going up. So that's primarily the increases you see are related to the salary and then the use of the hotspots, which is a service we'd like to continue to offer for this community. Do you have any questions? Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for what you do. Let's start out with that, okay? We really appreciate it. So the branch manager, and you use the, where's current? See, I don't have a, going by the top section right here. Currently, you're at 63,302. Is that correct? I don't have anything but what your request is. I don't have a current.
Oh, okay. You all have a current. I think it's this 42. I think it might be this.
Well, I see the annual 52 weeks is at 42. Is that what current is? And then
No, that would be
request?
that's our aspirational. That's what we're asking for a salary, not the benefits. It's my understanding that was put at what the senior center director is
Yeah,
making.
there's a big difference between the library director and the senior center director. It's going to be how many years you've been there.
Right, and this, our branch manager we looked at regional experience as a comparable, and she has 13 years of experience. So we again felt like we used that spreadsheet you were so helpful in providing for us, the county was, that had also years of service for the county employees, as well as the range, and then where you're looking to step your.
What are we at currently?
Currently, I'm pulling it, sorry.
This is just reading different than others. This is instead of having,
that's
the salary and then below it, if you took a salary and added all the rest of it.
Correct, but we're only looking at this one, but I don't know what the number is now. I'm trying to see what kind of increase you're asking for.
So we are preferencing trying to, jump on your pay study rather than a COLA is pretty much how we approach asking, and Toby's looking up the current salary.
I'm sorry, I finally am there.
Yeah, and it is confusing because Alita's only been with us for a short amount of time, but she has worked in the larger regional system. And so it's fair, I think they tried to be very fair in assessing it.
Yeah, we would, there's a lot of factors in that.
Absolutely.
Just so
y'all understood where it came from.
all over the map. So a lot of it has to do with maybe the education behind it. One may have a master's, one may not have a master's. So,
Well, I think it kind of falls under our conversation we've had with the extension office, to where what the BOC hires and it being a BOC employee versus another program that we fund.
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
So currently, your top person, the branch manager, is on annual 52 weeks, $40,248.
okay.
And if you want, we can go down and I'll give you all of them.
So we're asking for about $2,800.
Right.
So,
Your hourly wage goes from $19.35 to $20.60.
All right, so you all know our maximum at this point is unless we do an individual adjustment, is 3% max. Okay. Okay, just making sure we're all on the same page on that.
And as I know you all know, or you would have done your county pay plan study and everything else, we're just trying to retain employees at the same way, that you all are as well.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it completely. With that being said, it's really hard. You're doing apples to oranges, so. And I know you think you're doing apples to apples, but see, like, the branch manager here retains a teacher's retirement, which is 2 times or three times higher than any county employee that they don't get. So a lot of times your hourly pay scale is higher, for instance, at the county, because the benefit package is much lower. So then you can't just say, well, this one makes 10, I think I should be worth 10, but this one's getting retirement, this one's not. So there's a lot of factors in this. It's not just dollar figures.
Well, and another thing that the board pointed out last year is that total that you pay, so for 23's budget, that $230,000, you're not only paying for salaries. So even if they did provide you the salary breakdown, your $230,000 isn't broken down into actually how it's spent. The same as the extension office.
Correct.
So your agreement that we didn't get, that we asked for last year, it doesn't show how this big number is broken down. We just send a check quarterly, and it's up to their regional, Athens Regional, to decide on how those funds are spent, how those raises are given, all of that.
As of today, Mike Pruitt stated to us, we have to have that breakdown.
Oh, yeah, you should, absolutely. I mean, I think that's the only way.
And we are working on, we have a new CFO, and we're working on further breaking down those,
I'm 6 days in.
Oh, you're good.
She's very good. And we're just trying to get more, line item rather than grouping things, because you can't get a true understanding of what it costs that way.
Budget went through. Okay. That's what the regional board appointed by this board voted on. If it was to go through, just as a proposition.
Okay.
But to answer that, I don't like the ambiguity either.
Right.
Like, here, we're gonna give you a check, but we don't know what you do with it.
Yeah.
Very inappropriate. I missed the board meeting last week, so I'm playing catch up. But it's my understanding that if y'all were to approve the budget as submitted today, our ask, that this is exactly how the funds would be allocated in the next fiscal year. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
And we are happy to keep that line of communication open. We want to be we're, as you may know, we've gone through a huge transformation in our board. We have a very green board, so we are looking to be partners with you all, to learn from you, and take your advice for this community. One thing we had considered, we know that this is a lot that we're asking for. We feel like they're strong asks of why. As you all own the building, so we could look at maybe some kind of having maybe if you all would be willing to take on the cleaning service and the electricity, those two things alone would negate the hotspots and the salary.
I think we looked
I think
into
it's the same pot that comes out of.
In the end, but
I'm a little bit slow tonight.
we actually got into this last year. We were trying to provide the Wi-Fi for the library. And Athens Regional Library said no. We were going, because we got a fiber that goes by there, would cost you nothing.
Yeah, and this is difficult for us.
Correct, because you have to go back to them.
And also, we're new.
Yeah, and we're both on the regional board, so we're happy to advocate for Madison County. And however.
Oh, I know, I appreciate it.
I'm not aware of that. I thought that, the library does have Wi-Fi. I wasn't aware of that.
You do, but I think you're paying for your own Wi-Fi.
Yeah, we pay for Wi-Fi throughout the region.
Correct, but we offered it to them for free, but they wouldn't take it.
I was not aware of that.
Part of the discussion we got into last year is, we are offered a package, but we don't get to select what part of the package we want. See, in that package, we could provide the Wi-Fi, and then that reduces the cost of the package, doesn't reduce the service to so if we see that package, then we could say, well, we want this, or we don't want that, or we can provide that part of it. And we, working with Athens Regional System, could come up with a comparable package, a good package for the county citizens, and probably at less cost.
I was not aware of that. I will certainly write it down and talk to our IT people.
So your salaries total, right now, the bottom line is $145,837 on the spreadsheet.
Plus all the benefits.
Yeah, so it's the 213, 217.
All is right.
Yeah.
That's what you'll pay.
Which is roughly a $19,000 increase, which is a lot.
Yeah.
Recognize.
Well, again, that teacher's retirement's a lot. That's what hurts. See,
Sure.
No disrespect, but you really are one of the only people that we fund besides the UGA Extension Office that they gets that. But yet we don't pay them but $15,000 a year for an $84,000 employee.
Their funding sources are very different.
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
Funding
absolutely.
sources, I think it's
Absolutely.
difficult to compare.
Well, and that's the thing too, one of our largest competitors for library staff would be the university,
UGA,
and their, Governor Kent's generosity. I'm a state employee, I love it, I'm benefited from it, but $7,000 COLA, we cannot compete.
Well, is it too late, and please forgive me if this is not an appropriate question, but is it too late in the process for you to do, as you suggested, Mr. Chandler, and look at some of these things, of course, working within the confines and the requirements of the regional library system. I'm sure that because of privacy and things like that the library system takes so seriously, we may have to defer to what they say, but I would love it if we could take that approach and see where we could save some money. And then, maybe we could work together and figure out how to meet that gap.
I would love for you to approach it that way with the regional folks and the local board, and sitting down with Todd and Christine and say, here's what the package is. What portions of it are we already, or can we already provide for the county?
Right.
I would love that.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that really stands out to me, maybe because I really want to hire a cleaning lady, but looking at the cleaning service, I think that I don't know the last time that has been put out to bid. I don't know if it's appropriate to put that out to bid. I don't know if the county has a preferred provider that we could just add one more building, things like that. We may be able to really be better stewards of all of our tax dollars.
Excellent.
Yeah. And I think too, when you look at, for me, on behalf of the board, when you look at operating the library is $246,000, well, the board's already paying $230,000, but they have so limited say-so in the function of the library. So then it's like what Commissioner Chandler said, would it be cheaper for us just to take it over?
Yeah, and I think that I can understand that sentiment, but I think that the resources that are available are very valuable. I really do. I really understand what you're saying, and it's tricky, but I do think that there's a huge benefit to what the Athens Regional System provides. Gosh,
it's great.
It is, but I also understand that it's very much ours is a little local library, and we care about our local things, and we want to be good stewards of it and take good care of it and and invested in a way that, you know, our county and our community wants to. But I think this would be a great start.
So, I mean, I believe y'all could probably do that fairly quickly and
Sure.
separate it in the budget and get back with projects.
What kind of time frame would be appropriate to do so?
Tomorrow, 3 o'clock.
Could have done it too.
How
Well,
many
what
people
is the time frame?
do you see?
Oh,
I mean, children, I mean, adults.
They do a really good job of tracking.
2 weeks is realistic,
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
maximum.
Do you think that's doable, Val, if we
Yeah.
can, understand the confines of?
Absolutely.
The 31st.
31st.
Yeah, the board approved the budget, July 31st.
Oh, well, we don't have 2 weeks.
Nope.
Okay.
Unless you
Alina,
guys want
do
to
you
push it
know
out.
how many, children and adults that you provide services to monthly or quarterly, or do you know that number?
Let me pull it up. And I've got a document that I can send you that we just got from Georgia Library about programming and where we stand, and we're in the top 10%.
I mean, we can go ahead and tentatively
I'd be
approve
happy to.
We can work
the work.
And one of the things I'd like to say too about the oversight piece is that we are a new board and we want to have a relationship with you all. You've appointed us. We take that seriously. So you know, our door is open. We will come to you. You know, we want you to feel like, yeah, we also want you to feel like you can come to us with those concerns about oversight and let us be your hands and feet with the region.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we can, overall, we can help lower your costs and at least readjust what you are spending into areas better well spent. And one of them I looked at was telephone and internet.
Yeah.
I know that number can be cut in half and not actually an increase.
That's right.
So we can work together better once we know how it breaks down.
We saw 14,120.
And that's where it'll be great to tap in. I mean, we know the great resources that Athens Regional has, but we don't know what the county can do. And so I think that's wonderful.
And you know, your cleaning service being one of them, that's something that we can talk about. Because we do have staff that cleans buildings.
Yeah.
It's crazy for you to be on an outside person to do it when this person may be able to do it for X amount of difference.
Yeah.
You know.
It just gives us the opportunity to ask those questions.
Yeah.
We're approaching it like we had in the past. We have the opportunity to ask those questions.
Yeah. When you just write the check and you don't know where to go with it, it's hard to explain to constituents out there that you're
Oh, absolutely.
responsible.
Yeah.
So I think this will be much better. Yes.
And no, you're not the only one. Okay, just know that we have 3 other actually 4 other outside agencies that come to us and say, we need a lump sum, but we don't know how they spend it, nor how they get it. So right now, it's actually the stalemate on these other 2 because they won't return our phone calls, but they want money.
Well, I mean, as long as we have our.
You all are great.
As long as we are, I don't know what our
Great.
tenure on the board is, but I know that, as long as we're volunteering in this capacity, that's our primary goal.
Yeah.
Obviously, to, you know, serve the library, but just to make it a better fiscal, you know, decision.
And we are, you know, we've talked about this over the last several meetings, looking at other funding sources and partnerships other than just coming to your step. We know that, you know, we are going to have to come here for some of the increases that are happening nationwide, but, you know, we are trying to be creative and figure out ways that we can, you know, work with the Friends, our affinity group, and, you know, even other partnerships around the county if we can. We take it seriously that you're spending people's tax dollars, and we know you do too, and we appreciate that.
So let me ask you something, and I'm going off in my head of the UGAs and the DFAXs and all these other places. What portion of this does that Athens Regional Library System actually do other than fund the books and or the supply? Not necessarily the supplies, but the books and the computers.
As far as the region is concerned?
Yes.
Actually, there's quite a bit that the library does. We do have our collections department, which orders materials and puts the spine labels on materials. We have our IT department who comes through and makes sure that all of the computers are in working order and that they're CIPA compliant and that they're privacy compliant. We have an HR department who onboards our staff and makes sure that they understand what's going on, and if there's a case of an issue with HR, they handle that. We also have Toby here, who works very closely with each and every one of the branch managers to ensure that they're providing programs and services that are of quality and meet the needs of our community, and actually the list goes on.
And
So the reason I asked that is
And the business office.
And the business office that pays for all the bills.
The reason I'd ask that is because in the breakdowns we have from the other departments, it shows the cost sharing, it shows what Athens Regional has invested in it, and it shows what they're requesting of us to invest in it. And the reason you see it that way is to make sure it don't eventually get toppled one way or the other.
We did ask a lot of these questions last year, and I think we came to a pretty unanimous consensus that it's our benefit to stay with the library system.
Absolutely.
We're so glad you did.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank
I think we're there, but just a matter of within that, and Commissioner Adams brought up, we was looking at the dollars per constituent, just dollars per user, and compared to some of the other things, y'all are still a good deal. But just because we don't know what Athens regional system is in that contract, there's just opportunity there for savings that we may not be capturing.
And we'd be happy to have those savings. We would be absolutely happy to have those savings. Can I just ask one question? We said in 2 weeks, but 2 weeks is the 31st, and that's too late?
The reality for us is what we're going to have to do is just go ahead and make a budget approval and then potentially amend it based on the findings of y'all working together.
Okay, and that date is the 31st?
Well, that's when
We'll be voting at that point, but we're just asking, do you think 2 weeks you could get us some information within 2 weeks to potentially look at? And if you don't, we can move forward and we can look at it after the fact.
Okay. So we're shooting for 2 weeks.
I'd love to have a target of 2 weeks.
Target of 2 weeks.
But here again, I would suggest for you guys, just because I like to play with a calculator in my phone, and numbers mean a great deal to me. If you could look at the number of citizens that you see per month or annually, ever how you want to do it, and divide that up to show us what the cost is for you to do, because, I personally think that we've got a bargain with you guys. And here again, it's a number that supports what we can do for you.
Sure, yes, we can absolutely present it, per capita. I'll see how granular we can get with the data, if you want to see age group, summer reading, all those kind of things.
I don't believe that you
Just
have
per
to break it
capita.
down,
Okay.
just break it down.
And the utilization kind
Yeah,
of.
and, because I know that you offer multiple services, I wasn't aware that y'all did the internet thing until tonight, some of you guys may have been.
Our grandkids and seniors.
Some of our big questions,
To be honest, I think she already has most of the information because she gives us a quarterly report showing how many people she served.
Yes.
We can just take that, times it over a 12-month period or over a 4-quarter period, take that number and divide it by your budget.
And I think, one of the things that, having been on the commissioners for this is like my 5th year. And of course, like last year, this is the first time we really got into it, all right? So, and asked questions and got into it. It's just sort of, it's one of those things. There were so many other things going on, we just didn't do that. And so now we're back in it. The communication, the board, members, every once in a while, not just the library person comes up and says, this is what's going on, but the board talked to us about things that's going on and the things that the board would like to see happen and how the Madison County and the commissioners can help or ask for, I'm not going to say advice or whatever, but just communication.
What's
that's
the preferred method? Is it through Christina?
Just send it to her, and she send it out, and Christina, and then too, if it's like where you want to come and talk about something, she can set it up in a meeting to do that.
Sure. I think we would be so honored and happy. to do that. I may have one of my children come read to you.
Well, yeah.
And if you are all in a great position to give us advice, you appointed us. That, to your point, you are. And I think too, also about speaking about, you write this check, let us send you the quarterly budget that we have so you can see how we're spending the money. If we get that every quarter, let us give it to you.
That would
Because
be
we want to
great.
be
Yeah,
completely
see,
open with y'all.
that's the kind of thing that makes it real easy when we come down to this day. We already all got it right there and we know
Now,
what's
y'all
going
all
on.
have to stay on this board for a while so that we can keep this good.
Well, that's up to the citizens to vote.
So, in the effort of time, I just want to allow us to move on, and I want to be clear on what our takeaways are.
Yeah.
Someone else speaking?
I have a question. So what all do y'all want to relook at on this, like, do y'all want to look at the cleaning, the internet, and telephone?
Here's what I would like to look at.
Yeah, let's get back to
We
where
got the total dollars the check that we write to the Athens Library Board. Put the salaries over here, and then just give them a line item of everything else that is in there. Okay. And we could look at it, we could say, well, we can provide internet. We can take a look at taking that off, but we can provide cleaning services. So just go ahead and just lay it all out there.
And like, I guess we'll need to know too, just so we're comparing apples to apples, and that the cleaning service would come every day. Like, we just need to make sure that our cleaning services, what we're paying for now, is what y'all will still continue providing for her.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you'll lay it out, what you're paying for, then, yeah, we can.
You may be able to get it for
we'll
$6,900.
We'll look at it.
It's a huge thing.
Right.
See if it's the same thing.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm all about getting the numbers.
It's just communication, This is the thing about it, is you tell us what is happening now and what you're spending money on, and we can see if we can help with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't forget the last one was the contributions between what Athens Regional Library System has in the daily operations, so we can see what we have in the daily operations.
So my list is 3 things: per capita use, dollar breakdown, updated budget, so that we can look at that and see if there's any money we can reallocate or save on. And then thirdly, a full picture of every single penny that's going into the library, what the county is putting in, what ARLS is putting in.
Yes.
Right, those are the 3 things.
Yes, so even like with, Athens Regional, even if it's not monetary.
That's right.
those services.
Yeah, we need to know about those that doesn't show up monetary, because they got a value.
All year, December paper, there's lots of little things. We can do that.
I don't know how monetary we can get on it, because a lot of the work that's done out of the region is done by staff people out of the region, but we can give you an idea of what it is that we do. Yeah.
The 2-week crunch might be, 6 days in, and I still have a few more board meetings to go. So that's probably my biggest thing, is just trying to get it there to y'all within 2 weeks.
And then, if you listen to the contract that we have, there's a signed contract with the county and Athens Regional.
Okay.
If you could find that.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. There should be one.
MOU or something.
Yeah.
So that we actually have to have on record.
That's right, before the end of the month,
We supposed to do it every
absolutely.
year,
Sure.
believe it or not. The one I got back today from the extension agent is 2 years lapsed.
Well, we don't want to be like.
Or maybe every 4 years, because it's got the
somewhere.
previous chairman on it now, I have to have one at least filed.
It's probably very old.
Okay, we'll find it.
But that's what, once we get through this budget, that's what we'll go back and look at.
To make sure.
Fine tune,
Okay.
because it may provide more, take out.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds great. Well, thank you all so much. I know this was very conversational and informal, so thank you for bearing with us.
And as taxpayers, we want to
Yeah.
help y'all save money
Yeah.
and provide more services as well.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, young lady. Appreciate all y'all coming. Anybody need a bathroom?
How long you gonna be?
I have no idea. If you need to go, go.
We support you guys.
We'll take a quick.
That's what, here, go, keep going.
If we're gonna
I've had them all.
Oh, I know you've been with Lamar all day long.
Well.
Thank you.
No, we did not. You have what?
This is the same stuff we asked for.
We got
last
two.
year.
You covered it.
That's your problem.
That was the point.
$248 to that.
Well, I think it's compared to this, but then all this is added, and all this has gone up.
With no,
This is
with
where
the COLAs, 238, 835, minimum versus 249, not
So they go 42?
But she said the hotspots are like
42, but.
That was the maintenance on it, that's not.
She didn't really estimate how much, she said something like.
Something I found funny about those hotspots, Athens, Clark Regional, whatever it is, commission, you know, they have state park passes as well, that they rent out and everything, but you can't rent them out week to week, you have to wait a week. So if somebody rents them, or, you know, gets the park pass, they have to wait X amount of time before they can use them.
Well, I know, let me say this, I know what that Roxy thing at our house costs.
Yeah.
And if I can go over there and rent one of their things, or not rent one, check it out.
Check it out free.
Then
Yeah.
I'd be better off doing that and just
Exactly.
unplug that thing.
Let me get you, we're providing 9 people a month with free internet.
Yeah.
No wonder they don't have to pay more.
Or would they be providing one person a month, depending on how much they use, free internet? And then everybody else is just like the rest of it.
I know with service stuff, you know, my wife is goofy, so I'm partial to some of that kind of stuff. It just costs what it costs, because I need to have kids, you know, whatever. Yeah, and you see it every day. And then if you also got, yeah.
But we
got
got
that.
a ton of them during COVID, and they're just sitting in
No box. But then, you know, as far as that's concerned, if you got, we'll say, you know, senior citizen or something, somebody on a little bit of income, you know, is there some sort of prioritization method that they say, here's a service, you're not in the school system, but here's something we can help you, but almost like.
My mouth dropped when she was like, oh yeah, I take
Texas to use it on
my
work.
kids to watch when we're traveling.
Yeah.
How
does
it
decided that? Or does work at the beach, or, you know, I'm like.
You know?
Well, we are
But
saying
look,
that's not big,
but you,
we a little bit.
as you got to
Changers
understand,
perk up.
Yeah,
as you
you
got
make me
to,
kind of go,
as
whoa.
you got to understand though, the government is a lot different than your business. Your business would be caution, you know? The government, regardless, you will sit there and beat yourself to death if you try to run it just like you run in the business all the time.
Obviously.
Because
That's my thing on it is, that's why I asked the question, how many people do you see a month? Then I take that number by what they're asking for a budget, and I know how much everything, then I can turn around and say, and this is hypothetical, I can say, okay, the rec department says they service 1,600 people in a year. This is how much it costs to service 1,600 folks. This is how much it costs to service 4,700 folks a month.
Yeah. If the senior center numbers in there, we close that down. They serve like 60 people.
Yeah, but the thing about it is you can't.
Yeah. Right. I mean, I get it, but
It's government. And the thing about it is the 60 that you're serving, people have choices to make. You know what I'm saying? There's choices in this. And I don't know, my classes that I've had, some of them were pretty good and I had some tough stuff. If you take that mindset that you're going to run the government like a business, you will drive yourself crazy. You don't need to be in government.
Right. Beginning to realize that.
Yeah.
We talked for 6 months about vehicles, I said, they can stay about those, so I think it's a problem.
That's what she asked for, yeah.
I mean, you got to run it efficiently, but you can't.
That's a lot.
Well, and I can, only utility times I get that, you know, I know, hey,
All of that.
you know, it costs $20 billion to build one treatment plant, whatever it is. I realize that as a customer, you know, you can't say on an 8-year rate of return, those are
50-year decision, so I mean, it's. But
They're throwing their pot. Some revenue too, they just, rent out some of the facilities over there as well, because we had 4 acres.
Yeah. Well, you see, they can come up with some of that stuff and do it.
Yeah.
But,
And.
but you know, but now,
Yeah, the seizure funds
this
right
is
up.
and again, we're different.
I mean, it.
Look at the generational folks that we're dealing with. You know what I'm saying?
The plus,
And how much is changing. And that, I can even see it, you know,
the amount that they were
parents,
giving to that department at
like,
that point.
my grandkids, well, even younger than that,
66 grand.
Lord, they got a whole total
To get a
different view of the
vehicle
world.
and outfit.
But there's also.
They didn't grow up in the Chandler family,
They're
but,
brand new.
you know what
Like
I'm
those,
saying?
like the old state prison farm system.
We
You
pay anyway
know,
for like a
to,
year or something.
Well,
Those aren't included in that.
even 50
I
years
know,
ago,
they're already paid for
you know,
it. Those
like,
are
you
done.
know,
Okay,
they raised.
They're literally
Beyond that.
You know, all I got, there was 17 and Cannon got a great deal for workers for housing, that kind of stuff.
That's right.
Well,
And,
now
you know,
oh man,
I think
they crash and whatnot.
Lillard,
So
they have,
pull
they
a plumber
ordered
out of
2 ambulance.
prison system, say, hey, you know,
We are working on.
out of a county farm system, they can actually do something. Or you trust, walk into a truck, get a truck for electrician or something, you know.
Those shouldn't
Hey,
take that kind of
they ain't
time.
take-
Like it's 3.
Because they all just
But
made
they
it.
wouldn't, that's what, well.
It's not an
If those
invasion.
vehicles are ready to go,
I
and
ain't
they
said
use
farmers,
additional
but
fix.
but it's not the.
Yeah.
Yeah, forgive me, they're all out, but it's not an old fashioned.
How many cars.
Yeah, dad getting home from kids, I know, they did something wrong with the car or
Probably
something.
like going on.
And he was truly remorseful, and, you know, he's doing his time, you know, that ain't that no more, it's just crazy.
Well, that's what,
What is it, like
that's
50
what,
or something?
mentioned plumbers, that's what I don't understand. Plumber gets a DUI, okay, which is a very regular occurrence. Let me tell you, I mean, I got more folks that can't drive a company vehicle than can. But a plumber gets a DUI, the first thing he loses is his license, his driver's license. The
That's
second
my
thing
mind,
he
like, I want to
loses
be like, oh, they just did
is plumber's license.
Like, I want to understand that.
The only trade in the state.
That's amazing.
What about, why do they got plumbers?
Is that a state law thing, or is that like a
It is.
association?
No, see, we're governed by the Department of Labor through the Construction Licensing Board.
Yes.
And somewhere back there was a handful of folks, there's 6 people on the board in 1950 when it started, and 6 people on it now that are different. But that was something that they come up with, and it's been on there, and we can't get rid of it.
Some drunk ran to the lieutenant governor's house, and they said, what do you do for a living? He said, I'm a plumber. Well, there you go.
That's it.
Something like that happened, I promise.
And now you know why Martin Mechanical came to be plumbing and electric.
Yeah,
That heat and air guys drive the plumbers.
that's it.
Because if
A
you.
lot of dots are getting put together.
So we can have anybody under 25 operating with our vehicle. And that's
21, you get a CD of your insurance.
That's our insurance.
Mine's 21 at the auto parts store, just to
Because
deliver
so
a
many
part.
plumbers have problems with DUI.
Really?
All right, old boy, you
I
start.
got a story to tell you
Where you
later.
start?
Whatever you throw at it.
And that's
All right,
why
you wanna start with the P&Z board?
Yeah, that's what.
Let's find that easy.
Make it easy.
Make it easy, all right, where to go? Department, what do you say? 92, Planning and Zoning Board. There's no changes, the one thing I'd like to do, or are we officially back?
Yes.
All right, good, is to keep the $7,000 that we assigned this year for training, not only for this board, but y'all's board as well, so we can keep that pace, keep up to date. I'm going to talk to Gaza, it's the Georgia Association of Zoning Administrators, and try and get their list of who they get to speak at our conferences to see if we can't get one of the state attorneys to come out at least once a year to let BOC and P&Z board know of the upcoming laws. When they go into effect, changes we have to make that me and Mike and Christina and Todd sit down to talk about. That way everybody has a chance to ask questions. But I'd like to keep that 7,000 going for training for the boards.
Just a thought going down the road, and I don't want to belabor our budget process. I've heard about some other counties, whenever a new member comes onto the P&Z board, they actually have specific training that they have to go through before they can get certified.
P&D
We have never done
101
anything like that.
through the University of Georgia, the training we all just did. A lot of them do it, not necessarily east of us, but north and west. They bring them up for training. They also have a lot more money than what we deal with, because it would cost us $1,280 something bucks, top of my head. It's like $1,280 something for one person to go to UGA or to get on one of the classes where we brought them out here for about $3,280. And we had 15 spots we tried to fill. But I like where that's at. If we see a big turnover and y'all think it's beneficial, I'd back it. I just know it's a lot for just one person and their attention. We can switch to 93. It's on the same sheet, or I guess I've got the same sheet.
Yeah, it is.
The planning and zoning administration, the department here in the government complex. I would like to get a zoning clerk. When Miss Linda retired, we were scrambling to get somebody to step into her position. It was a little bit of a nightmare, to be honest with y'all. If we had a part-time or even a full-time, I know me and the chairman had a conversation about this. Somebody that comes in, we're not so dependent just on our one zoning administrator. If she's out, nobody else can take an application in and process it and get them on. Also, if she's out, it puts us way behind on our meetings and being able to have a clerk in the meetings. So somebody that can interchange and help out with the office. Right now, all three departments are cross-trained as best as they can be with each other. The zoning is the one office that needs more help staff-wise, time-wise. In the office, I've proposed starting them out at $1,250, getting somebody trained and educated. The end zoning is not an overnight event. So if we can get somebody just to come in, start, make sure it's what they want, and go from there.
We can move them up accordingly after that. That was our thought process. It was my suggestion to Christopher that based off of what we're seeing in rezones right now, a part-timer would do us no good. It's going to have to be a full-time position. And down there Friday, I don't know, 6 or 7 come in one day.
Yes, sir.
Between all the phone calls and others, just for whatever other reason. Part-time would not help us much.
Just $1,250, you really don't have, I mean, you're gonna get.
Well, that's what I was thinking, part-time, and then coming in full-time. We really didn't discuss a full-time position. Top of my head, $1,550 to $1,600 as a starting clerk with little to no experience.
Well, you start getting out of calibration with what some of the other starting pays is, but honestly, I think our starting pay right now is around 14. And I think that's why we rolled hers back at Tracy Bean's from 18 to 14.
Yes.
Once you get them in, if that's what they like, then once they start completing, then we can move them up accordingly. That's what we did with Angela.
So that's nobody with no experience?
Nobody with no experience, but we can use the Gaza program to qualify and train zoning administrators for the future.
And let them know that they're gonna get some raises as they complete that. That's what we're gonna do.
Gaza offers 2 conferences a year. It costs us almost $1,000 to send one person to each conference a year for us.
It takes, what, 2 years for conferences?
Gaza doesn't have a certificate program yet through the University of Georgia. I'm actually part of their council trying to get it on right now.
Go ahead and change that to 14 instead of 1250.
Okay.
Because I verified with Tracy Date where our entries was.
Okay.
It was 14.
All right. I marked it down. I'll get it changed.
And going on with that education program, that's the reason why there's also an increase in our travel and lodgings and education and training, just so that we can try and get one person to it next year to see how it goes. But otherwise, the rest of it's the cost of paper going up. I've tried to make us as digital as possible, but zoning kills trees. I can tell you all that because we are printing like crazy, 1,800 plus pages a month. So we're burning through some paper.
Today, this meeting is not the meeting we need to discuss this, but in our next work session, we are going to have to discuss what's going on in zoning, meaning how many we got, how far we're already booked out, how we've come to a freezing point, because if not, we're going to be booking in next year now, and with the capability of doing 10 a month, we're just digging a hole. So
that's also one point I'm arguing with the state
in a work session.
To open it up.
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
No, that's really all there is to planning and in zoning. I'd like to see a clerk, and I'd like to be able to train.
Okay.
Building inspection, 91.
91 building inspection. What you gonna do?
Yes, ma'am.
91, yeah.
That's their next step is code enforcement.
No, mine's just a lot smaller than yours on this list.
Here, I've got an extra.
I'll try to.
No, it's okay, I printed it out, I'm squinting.
Well, papers with me, it'll be fine.
You sure?
I've got an extra code enforcement one.
Still first.
Is that just enforcement or is it?
Is everybody with glasses?
I've got them in the
I'm
truck.
gonna let these, but I can't see mine.
I didn't print them on legal, I went with the smaller one, trying to save some money.
I don't want you going blind. No.
Oh, yeah.
Budget $1.99 road, so you won't.
Yeah, so you can keep them on.
That'd be better, I got some in the truck.
Yeah, across the board with everybody, I asked for a cost of living raise, but we have one person in particular in our building inspection department that I think deserves a little more than 3%. That's Miss Angie Trissel, our permitting clerk. I was blessed by this woman. She was my second pick. It was divine intervention that she came in. If out of everybody in this building that's staff that I interact with, I would ask y'all to consider a 50-cent an hour raise for Miss Angie. She is a phenomenal person. She's working a second job right now to try and make ends meet. Her fiance joined the military, and she's here without complaint every day. 8 hours.
It's just nice when.
Oh, my goodness.
We need, maybe when you talk
A
to
dozen
me,
or two of them. Now, you're under building inspection?
Yes, 91.
91. Yeah.
So I thought she was somewhere around 1650 already, so
She was at 1550. We bumped her to 16.
I'll have to go.
but 3% is gonna be more than that.
3%. 48. Well, I mean, it's
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure to single her out for appreciation.
Absolutely.
She has been an instrumental part for everything getting called up with building inspection. So if whichever way balances in her interest, I would appreciate y'all's consideration for her as well. Otherwise, the little changes are the cost of paper, little things of that nature for building inspection.
I have not met and not familiar with Angie, but if she is, as she said, 50 cents is just the same as 3%. If you're looking for an adjustment there, you might want to request more than just 50%.
Would it be?
It's $16, 3% is 48 cents.
Well, I guess maybe I stated it wrong.
So you're going to look for a class up to $16.50 and
then the 3%. I'm sorry, I didn't explain that.
so that would essentially put her at 7.
We'll just have to verify where she's.
Let me just go grab it.
All right, well, go ahead and keep on going.
While y'all get it.
I'm truly appreciative of that one.
Boy, me and you both.
You don't see a lot of changes in code enforcement because Jonathan Cook, who came on with us, He was underneath building inspection. We had somebody hired, James Pulliam, who decided to leave. I tried to create a position that Jonathan's filled as field inspector. He covers code enforcement, and then when Eddie's out, we're also cross-training him to do partial building inspections to help with footing and temporary electrical poles, just so that we're able to provide a service quicker throughout the county. He came in with flying colors. He took a $3 an hour cut in pay to come here. He's a resident of the county. He's another one that I am truly grateful for out of everybody, and I put him in for that 50 cent plus the three as well. He has jumped on a bucking bull, and he has rode it into submission. He works with Eddie, bless his heart. He works with me, pray for him. He's done everything and caught on to it. He's smart man, and I've sent him to one training. I'd like to send him to some more. And that's the reason you're going to see a cost adjustment in our food and lodging and continuing education is I want him to stay with us. He wants to stay with us. And I think that he will, in the long run, be our next chief building inspector. Yeah. As it comes along.
And I will say also on Jonathan Cook is, we started out some of these people low, and I guess I wish more businesses did in a way, just to see what you got. And once we realized that we have, they both, Jonathan and Angela, both took an increase at the wage study, but it wasn't high enough to their caliber of where they were at. Go ahead.
Okay, I need to get Jonathan.
No, we know where Jonathan is.
Jonathan's 18 smooth right now.
Okay, all right, okay.
What is Angela?
1650.
She's 1650 now. That's exactly what I thought. So, yeah.
I think we started her at 14, and then the wage study bumped her to something. Me and you talked, and we thought she deserved more. But there are two people.
So Jonathan's at 1850 now. Jonathan's at 1650.
Jonathan's at 18 smooth.
Oh, he's at 18 smooth. Okay, so
his wife, if you look at Cook right together, she's at 1850. Ever does currently, because I did the same thing with but we have training, and with a new person, or trying to get somebody trained up, we're going to do the best we can to spread it out. We have him slated this year to become our third Georgia Soil Waterways Conservation, finish their title out, to where we'll actually have 3 erosion control measures certified people in the county. Red card.
Under wages regular, you also see a plus 1 full-time person. Christopher had in there for a part-time person. I asked him to change it to a full-time, and this is based off the conversation that we had around this table of potential noise ordinance, and Derek had a good idea. Instead of trying to staff 22 different police officers with the equipment to do it with, that we would use code enforcement, and in order to do that, it is going to take not a part-time guy, but a full-time guy. So I use your recommendation off of that. Not necessarily for full-time, but to use in that department for that enforcement.
And originally it was a part-time person, and I'm all for having some helping hands on deck. Jack Huss is on and off. Lamar Dalton with the tax commissioner. Jack used to run all of the delinquent tax bills. Now code enforcement does it. Jack used to do all the bailiff's work or magistrate court. We're saving money right now by Judge Patton calling me down when he has a sticky one. I'll sit in there for 30 minutes instead of Jack getting paid 3 hours. At the same time, I need more help in the field, so we had went to a part-time individual, but with noise ordinance, and in all honesty, the complaints that we get and trying to run building inspection and curve everything, another full-time would be very appreciated. But realize that with that full-time person, we'd probably have to get another vehicle to get them on the road.
Correct. And this is part of the capital that we don't have.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, I added. We wasn't sure about the dollar amount, we just kind of had to guess.
We actually think it's going to be somewhere around 38, because that's the last F-150 we just purchased. Or actually, the one that Robin then looked at the other day, the Ford crew cabs is like 38. through Sourcewell. So, but anyway, we threw a number 48 because we don't know what all it's going to entail to get it stickered and to potentially get the radio in it. Nothing major, but just little stuff. That's why it says 48. I'm sorry.
Electric bike, $3,500.
Well, if we keep Jack on, I may have to get him one of them bird scooters, but.
Jack's only gonna have to give him a wheelchair.
I tell you, try to keep up with that old man. He's tough.
He's something else. He
He's
really
tough.
is. We do have the two-wheel drive F-150, and 2 Rams.
Yeah, we have 2 Rams and we have Allen's old F-150, which we will continue to keep potentially for the other guy coming in, but for Jonathan, because of his daily duties, we're gonna have to move him into another truck, period. And right now, we are vehicle poor. That is the part of the capital that we really need to sit down, and we just haven't had time, period, point blank, no excuses, we just ain't had time. And come up with a list, a dollar figure for you guys to see, showing all the vehicle purchases total, and just a total for capital. And we'll break it out, but it's gonna be, you saw 400 a minute ago, which I think the sheriff can probably do 300. But then Robin's gonna have to mandatory hire 2 people. We're gonna have 2 vehicles there because we're already running short. And then his office gonna have to have a vehicle. We've got potentially talk about a vehicle, not for us, but for travel, because we cut out all the mileage. About going and getting an Explorer for the building that's dependable, because we got 2 different people today in training in Savannah. We have one of our vehicles down and one that didn't make it. We turned and brought it back. So, yeah.
But at least they brought it back.
Yeah, before they ever left town.
Do we
Better than the
have,
last time.
besides the stuff that needs to be replaced, do we have just a list of vehicles, equipment that?
Like a pool?
Yeah.
Like an equipment pool?
We do have a list of vehicles and equipment that the county owns. We do.
It's all under our insurance policy. Every single piece of equipment we own, year, date, mile, you name it.
We have to do that every year.
And what departments use it? Or is it assigned to like a?
The road department has it broke out because of the maintenance schedule. It's broke out who owns it, where it's at, the mileage, how many times it's been worked on. And that's a good indication for us on the ones we need to get rid of.
Yeah.
Because we have
How about
some.
who is assigned to? If it's an assigned vehicle?
By name?
Or department.
It's by department.
Like the sheriff may say he's got 30 cars.
I think
You don't
it's
need
safe
to
to
drive.
say that we need to spend about, $1.15 million on vehicles right now. If we bought everything that's been requested from us since this process started, you're gonna write a big check.
Yeah. The problem with that is,
Can't get what we need to.
yeah, the problem with it is you really don't want to buy a lot in one year because then they're going to all die in the same year, and that's what happened in 2018. They spent a lot of money in 18 on cars, which was, I'm sure, needed, but now they're all dying. So we're in that cycle.
They were new.
There's only one more thing, and I guess it's a little self-pride in it, but before I say it, I do want, if y'all consider approving the budget that I have before myself, I honest to God hope that y'all would take that 50 cent plus 3, or 50 cent plus the 3% in for Jonathan and Miss Angie, that they are truly deserving of it. So with that being said, I have put a request in here for myself. When the wage study came out, I had to make a decision for what position they would consider me at, because no other county had a position quite like what I feel between them all, and it fit me at 55, 180. It's fairly comparable with other department heads. I feel it was slightly under, and I hope I've proved myself over the moratorium and in the past 2.5 years. I've tried to bring in to code enforcement and magistrate court system a new martial style where in the past code enforcement was only an officer of magistrate court. I went to magistrate court. I'm an officer of them. I'm an officer of probate. I went to Superior, Judge Weiserman,
swore me in as a district officer of the court system as well. So in Madison County, we can enforce state and federal laws because of that step, and that's something that no other county around us can do. On top of that, we have maximized the inspections to date. As of June, last time, because I haven't got the July out, we are on track with permitting, with building inspection that I also do, and also cross-trained and got certified in as ICC as well. We've been able to put out almost 37% more inspections so far this year alone. With code enforcement, due to our revamp of the court system and the way that we address things, in 2.5 years we haven't lost a single court case. I've maxed out at 35 court cases a month. That's me bringing zoning, building, and code enforcement in. I'm only allowed about 3.5 hours a month in court. We've never lost. Per the judge's request. Per the judge's request. He does not like doing 5 hours in my court. That money goes directly to the general fund. The 4 years before I came, the mass total, and I don't want to use citation, but ordinance violations as a cause, but in 4 years there was less than $2,800 in fines assessed in Madison County. We do almost $5,000 a month, and that's with us only doing 35 across the board, not early court payouts, not making them come in and permit. On top of that, we're running as efficiently as we can with a few missing cogs. But a bad clock's still right twice a day. On top of that, I wanted y'all to know that we're already looking at surpassing last year's COs. To date, we've got 102, already certified 102 new homes in the county, whether they be stick-built, modular, or mobile home. Last year, we had a total of just 200, and so we're already on track to hit that and pass it. Last year, we did 5,187 inspections. This year, we've already done 4,000, and the year's only halfway over. We're able to accommodate the citizens more and get more done. So when y'all look at our budget, just know that we don't want to ask more than we have to, but we ask for what we think we need to be better.
$5,000 a month, that's $60,000 a year for the finance record for citations.
If they pay. If not, they do court. We do work with some
service.
Yeah. But the community service is all, Judge Patton has entrusted me with the full power of code enforcement, and nobody else being able to step on the property with a standing warrant as myself. And then he also has empowered me as a magistrate, community service inspector. So when we do issue it, it's me that goes out and verifies everything with them. But that's only happened 3 times that we've done that.
Any other questions for Christopher John?
Very good.
Next on the list, Commissioner Doster. Motion to adjourn.
You got to close the vote here? Close the vote?
Yes. You want to close the public hearing?
All right. Motion to close the public hearing.
So moved. Good, let's do adjourn. Yeah.
Sorry. What time? 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock in the morning.
8 o'clock in the morning. When the morning comes.
Now, for anybody that's not doing anything at 9 tomorrow, you can come by and see how we do work.
We'll be in here. I got a meeting.
They'll be here.
Come right on in.
Good job.
Smell the atmosphere. Yes, sir. Good job, folks.
Brad.
Yes.
She keeps wanting to take this home and do it.
It's over his house.
Because she runs out of time each day.
Doing that
She's the last
application
one in
tomorrow.
the building.
Or whatever.
Miss Butler here.
She has got it prepared and it is
All right, so he's at,
correctly, so.
so he's gonna be able to bond me. He's got to. The interior